Yo, Kai, you ready?
Yo, yo.
Seriously, I'm grateful for you believing in me. So grateful, so man, you see, some days I didn't know where I was gonna be. Remember when my confidence was inside the gutter? You tell me don't stop, press on, don't give up, no. You said, Father God, he ain't done with you yet, me brother. Destined for the top, that's why you can't stop at all. Man, you give me a power, the power to believe in me, and it gave me the strength I need. You gave me a power to never forget. What for me for sure I will get. You gave me a strength, I'm back on my feet again. Strength, you helped me through the rain. I'm grateful to the end. I just want to thank you for being my friend. You gave me a strength, man, you pulled me through. Strength, had to say thank you to anybody out there ever did something for me. I'm thankful for life, for life, for life, for life, for life. Hey, 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 gratitude for life, for life, for life, for life. Permanently, I keeping away from all negativity. Move it away, well and truly, yeah. Hard work and perseverance, that thing's the key. She's to life, brother. Yeah, man. Remember when I thought things wouldn't get any better? You tell me, boy, stop. Just do not give up, no. You said go for go like Shaki GFG, a brother. Destined for the top. Your blessings can't stop at all. Man, you give me a power, the power to believe in me, and it gave me the strength I need. You gave me a power to never forget. What for me for sure I will get. You gave me a strength, I'm back on my feet again. Strength, you helped me through the rain. I'm grateful to the end. I just want to thank you for being my friend. You gave me a strength, man, you pulled me through. Strength, had to say thank you to anybody out there ever did something for me. Man, I'm thankful for life, for life, for life, for life, for life. Hey, 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 gratitude for life, for life, for life, for life. Confidence was inside the gutter. You tell me don't stop, press on, don't give up, no. You said Father God, he ain't done with you yet, me brother. Destined for the top, that's why you can't stop at all. Man, you give me a power, the power to believe in me, and it gave me the strength I need. You gave me a power to never forget. What for me for sure I will get. You gave me a strength, I'm back on my feet again. Strength, you helped me through the rain. I'm grateful to the end. I just want to thank you for being my friend. You gave me a strength, man, you pulled me through. Strength, had to say thank you to anybody out there ever did something for me. I'm thankful for life, for life, for life, for life, for life. Hey, 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 gratitude for life, for life, for life, for life. I'm thankful for life, for life, for life, for life, for life.
Who
And a great good evening to all of you that are joining us this Monday, June the 9th. Uh, wow, 9 days into June already, and we are here with you on this Marcy Week show with the loyal opposition. A little bit of a different beginning this evening to what I'm used to, and I really want to thank Dave for these songs that he continues to find for us to keep us alert in terms of our country and what is happening on a national level and with our young people. But before I proceed any further, of course, you know that following the national anthem, when I'm hosting the show, we repeat our national pledge. And I want to go straight to that. Then I'll come back and give a great welcome to all of you. All right. So let's together repeat our national pledge. I know Dave is going to bring that up right there for us to be able to see, just in case there's some of us that, I'm trying to be really kind here. We're not really remembering all that well, and I'll just leave it at that. All right. So here our national pledge, and I want you to say it together with me. You know, there is something about our collective expressions on a number of things that we do, and this is one of them. So would you mind repeating it with me, please? I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. Thank you so very much for making that pledge to our country, to our flag, to our people, to our citizenry. We're grateful indeed. We are not making pledges to any political party, and I want to be crystal clear on this. Our pledge is to our country and to our flag. And I am obligated as a citizen of this country to my flag and to my country. I want to reflect for a moment on that last stanza of the national anthem. And incidentally, I wish all of you a great Whit Monday. This is the time we celebrate the giving of the Holy Spirit in the church. Yesterday, we had a great celebration at the Kensington Oval of a number of churches that came together. We are trying our best to stimulate and promote and move forward with the sense of unity in the church and being able to deal with matters, that surround us as a people, as a country, as the body of Christ, and how we can contribute practically, realistically, to that whole aspect of the church's involvement on a national level, on a citizenry level. And so yesterday we celebrated what in most of our traditional church circles would have been Whit Sunday, but in our evangelical circles would have been the day of Pentecost or Pentecost Sunday. And we had a great celebration at Kensington Oval yesterday. And we want to certainly thank all of you that were present. And we also want to hail out those of you who celebrated Whit Sunday in your own area, in your own space, in your own way, in your Anglican, Catholic, Methodist, Moravian, whatever other denominational churches we have. But keep in mind, and a reminder from me as a minister of the gospel, that in God's eyes, there's really only one church, and that is the church of Jesus Christ. He said, I think in Matthew 16, that he would build his church and the gates of hell would not prevail against it. So he's not building my church. He's not building your church. He's not building the Methodist church or the Pentecostal church or the Nazarene or the Wesleyan, none of them. He's building his church. And his church is comprised of many different persons. And Jesus himself spoke about those walls that would be broken down between Jew and Gentile. And certainly we want to see those walls broken down between Pentecostals and Moravians and Methodists and Anglicans and Wesleyans and Nazarenes, so that as a collective grouping, we can address the challenges that are facing our country. So let me congratulate all of you on the celebration of the Whit Sunday, Pentecost Sunday that we have just come through. Now, I have been listening quite carefully to this national anthem. All right. And we're getting a little feedback there, Dave. I just want to make that out of the way. All right. Still getting a little of it there. All right, there it goes. Right. And I want to look at that second stanza for a moment. There's some things I want to share with you, but I want to look at the second stanza of that national anthem. And this is what it says. Um, the Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. With him still on the people's side, we have no doubts or fears. And I want you to hear that. With him still on the people's side, we have no doubts or fears. What is facing our country now is a atmosphere. In our realm, we would call it a spirit of fear. And this spirit of fear must be dealt with. Now, as Christians, we know how we engage this in the realm of the spirit because the scripture tells us that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of a sound mind. So we know how to deal with it. Out of 2 Corinthians, I think it is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and I'm not the greatest at references, and I'm not too bothered about it because the Lord didn't ask me to hide a reference in my heart. He asked me to hide his word. But it says there that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Fear is a stronghold in this country at the moment. And we as the church have the spiritual authority to take a grip of that spirit and tear down its stronghold. But in the realm of reality, the government has a responsibility to the citizens of this country. I have observed, I watched the show last night and I watched the show on Friday night, and and over, we kept seeing a number of issues arising that disturbs the security and safety of our people as a country. And what I perceive to be an insensitive, disingenuous, uncaring act on the part of the Attorney General and even the Barbados police force to in the environment in which we find ourselves today to be celebrating as we saw them celebrate. Now, we're not against celebrating, and don't get us wrong, but one has to consider the wisdom of engaging that type of conduct and celebration within the context of what we as a people are experiencing. The national anthem says, we have no doubts or fears. Now, if we have fears, I want to suggest to you that something is wrong because God doesn't seem to be in agreement with things that are happening, because it says he's been the people's guide, and with him still on our side, we won't have these doubts or fears. There's a verse of scripture that says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice, but when the wicked are in governance, they groan. And you can determine on the action, on the activity, and you can determine on the activity of what is happening in our country, whether a righteous government is present or if a wicked government is present. We have to engage certain aspects of spirituality that have been a hallmark of our national DNA, if you want to call it that. And in that, I want to say quite clearly tonight that it would appear to me that government has failed, and I want to use that word very strongly, has failed in its number one responsibility of providing safety and security for its people. I took the time yet again to look up the responsibility, the number one responsibility of our government. And it says this. And I'm reminded in my own mind that I haven't even welcomed you all yet. So let me stick a pin here. I apologize. I'm so anxious to get going. I guess a lot like Marcia was last night. Marcia was on fire last night. I tell you, I sat and I listened to her. She was on fire, and you could tell the anger and the pain in her system as she spoke concerning the issues that woman, that 70-something-year-old woman that was raped. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I could tell that, and you could tell that I'm really in a hurry to get into what I want to share this evening. So let me stick a pin here and just welcome all of you that are joining us, every single one of you. Hendricks Ishmael, Angel Humble, Matthew Brung, and Welcome to the show, Dale Worrell, Judith Ann Clark. Thank you so much, Judith. You're so faithful. Marie Watson, of course, don't let me say that. Marcia, Marcia, just let me leave it at that. Sandra Charles, welcome. ADG and Shirley, Matthew Brung, all of you, Sandra Watkins, Jacqueline Ward, Owen Hines, oh my goodness, Cami and Jerry Nelson, Jefferson Sobers, and Sir Alfred Benjamin joining yet again from New York. Welcome, Sir Alfred, and all of you that are tuning in this evening. I tell you, it's just been great to have all of you with us this evening and to know that you are supporting us as a part of the loyal opposition. So now let me get back to what I wanted to say to you. What is government's number one responsibility to its citizens? And I took the liberty of looking through a number of different sources, including the World Economic Forum, which is the source, one of the major sources considered by most governments as an authoritative voice, along with organizations like the WHO and so on. And this is what it had to say. A government's primary responsibility is to ensure the safety and the well-being of its citizens by maintaining order and stability. If this is the definition of the primary responsibility of a government, this Barbados Labour Party government has failed. Straight talk. There is no ifs, ands, and buts about it, because we are currently at an all-time high, record high of deaths in this country. I'm almost tempted to say murders in this country. We are having 21 murders in 22 weeks. Daylight robberies, a 75-year-old woman raped at gunpoint. We don't know where the guns are coming from. We're asking the question, where are the guns coming from? What is the actual plan to engage this, to stop what is happening in our country as our safety factor as a nation is declining at a very, very rapid rate? And the government doesn't need to come to talk any economics or finance with us. It's no point handing us $300 and then people are being raped and shot at and they're being held up at gunpoint. Cars are being carjacked from people, and you're coming with a $300 gift to the people. We don't want $300. We want to walk in our country safe. We want to go at night as we always used to be able to, safe, where we can go anywhere in this country. I remember the times when people used to drive out and park certain places. Of course, some of the acts that got into were not the nicest things, but nevertheless, you could have gone, parked, enjoyed the beach and all these kind of things. And now today, people don't even want to leave their homes. Why? Because government has failed in its number one responsibility, and that is to keep its citizens safe and keeping the place in a sense of order and stability. This includes, listen carefully, this includes protecting individuals from violence, both from each other and from external threats, as well as providing a framework to a peaceful and productive society. There is nobody in this country, BLP lucky or not, DLP supporter or not, I don't care what party you are supporting. There is not a single person in this country that can honestly say that we feel safe in our country. There is an element of fear unprecedented in this nation as we have gone through the last several weeks, the last several months in this country, only just beginning 6 months ago, and already in 22 weeks, 21 deaths. Young men, and a 74-year-old woman raped. That is not acceptable, Madam Prime Minister. That is not acceptable, Mr. Attorney General. It is not acceptable, Madam President. This is not what we expect from the governance of our country. But it is said that when the wicked rule, the people groan. So you can determine who is ruling by the expressions of the people. If the people are rejoicing, you know the righteous are ruling. If they're groaning, you know the wicked are ruling. We don't want your $300. We want proper prices at our oil pumps that reflect the declining prices of oil across the world, not just in a specific singular point, all across the world, from Australia back to the United States, United Kingdom, Europe. Oil prices coming down. The one place it's going up is in Barbados. We don't want that. We're not interested in that. We're not satisfied with that. And then to add insult to injury, you're going to have the government pass a regulation that would suggest that tinting on your car windows is contributory to the violence that we are having in our country, and given the ridiculous excuse that in order to provide safety for the law enforcement officers when they're approaching a vehicle, the tint has to be removed. I remember hearing something about we are in this together. Yet there is a certain select group of people in this country who can keep the tint on as much tint as they like, while the others have to get it off of their cars. I don't know what they are going to do about the vehicles that are manufactured from the manufacturer with built-in tinted glasses. I see that. Sorry, I put up my favorite car though, but I see that BMW. You see that BMW there sitting on the screen? It has tinted glasses all around as standard equipment, with darker glasses on the back passenger windows and on the back glass. What are you going to tell a person who buys a BMW? Do they now have to go and take out the glass and replace it with clear glass? Let me inform you, Madam Prime Minister, let me inform you, Mr. Attorney General, that the manufacturers of BMW, Mercedes, Toyota, Nissan, none of them produce clear glass at the back anymore. They all produce glass that treats to what their vehicles are manufactured with, and that is dark glasses on at the back particularly. And let me inform you, Mr. Attorney General, in your ignorance, that tinted glass, or what we call green tinted glass, is done to protect the interior of the vehicle, not just to avoid the deterioration of the interior, but to prevent the production of very toxic fumes inside the car from the plastics that come about as a result of the ultraviolet lights heating the interior of the car, and the plastics producing the release of that toxicity. So when people have the tint on their glasses, it reduces the amount of UV light entering the vehicle, not only contributing to a decline in the interior heat, but also reducing the toxicity inside of that vehicle, so that when people come to enter their cars on a hot day and open their doors, there's less of that production inside of the vehicle than if their glasses were not tinted. And on top of it, Mr. Attorney General, if somebody who is of a violent nature has ill intent for a police officer, you can be sure that tint glasses or no tint glasses, that officer is going to get a bullet to his chest, because the person is going to be keeping the gun on their seat next to them. So the real question is now, where did that gun come from? And tint is not going to change that matter. It is absolutely ludicrous, ridiculous, stupid even to suggest and even think that you can relate the tinting on glasses because you can't see into them. I'll tell you one thing that I find a little disturbing with the tint, though. I do. And that is sometimes when I'm coming to move off from particular areas, maybe the roundabout, if I'm to a certain side of a vehicle, I can't see what is happening. And I can understand that aspect. And so I try my best to make sure I'm in a position where I can see. But for us to suggest, for the Attorney General, for anybody to suggest that tint has any relation to the amount of violence and crime we are having in this country is a cop-out and a red herring and a poor excuse for poor governance. Tint did not prevent that 74-year-old woman from being raped. Tint did not prevent that 13-year-old child who was shot in Silver Hill from being killed. Tint did not prevent those young men that have been shot in Deacons and Gall Hill. Tint had nothing to do with that. So it is a stupid argument, stupid, absolutely stupid suggestion to draw a comparison or a link between crime and tint. How silly can you get? We didn't put idiots inside the parliament to represent us. We expected people in parliament who had not just common sense, but enough intelligence to know when to make a wise and meaningful decision that would be to the benefit of the people. And Mr. Attorney General and Madam Prime Minister, the people are not satisfied with it. Come between now and September the 1st, repeal the bill. I'm going to tell you one of the things I'm going to advise Mr. Ralph Thorne, and I hope he's listening to this program tonight because I want to give him a piece of advice. Start by telling the people that you're going to repeal all these stupid laws that are being implemented by this administration when you come to government. That is one way to start your campaign. This law, if it happens to pass on the 1st, come into operation on the 1st of September, promise the people you will repeal it, along with the cybercrime bill. Because we ain't even got to that yet. Because I will tell you, if that cybercrime, if we did not carry, I'm telling you now, if this show did not carry a representation to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in Washington, that cybercrime bill would have passed and none of us would have known anything. But we caught it. And as a result of this show, they had to put it on hold. And the commission has advised them to re-enter dialogue and discussion with the people of Barbados. And since that advice from the commission, this government has not sought to do so. I can just leave that there because I can't believe that logical thinking people, sensible thinking people could be so foolish and so stupid as to attempt to tie the tint on car glasses to any criminal activity in Barbados. A man who's carjacked, tint ain't got nothing to do with that. When somebody blocks the road going through Lower Estate or something like that, tint has nothing to do with that. What has to happen is that the government has to get serious about its criminal response and deal with the criminals in this country. Well, my first guest I can see is in the green room. And I want to just get her to confirm that she's ready to come into this show and into the show today. And of course, as soon as you hear me say, confirm that she is ready, you know who I mean when I make that comment. And of course, I believe that some of us may not be feeling and maybe tempted to think who that is. But before I get her in, let me highlight this march that we are having on this coming Saturday. A protest march on Saturday, June the 14th, starting at 10 o'clock from the Kensington Mall to Independence Square. We don't feel safe. That is what this march is about. A 76-year-old woman was raped at gunpoint. Daylight robberies, even the elderly aren't spared. We've had it happen at one of our major supermarkets up in St. Philip. 21 murders in 22 weeks. This is out of control. And what the people of Barbados are saying is simply enough is enough. Where are the guns coming from? What is the actual plan to stop them? All right, what is that actual plan? No political interference in the police. This is what we're demanding. More respect and authority from the police and from the government. And let me say, we applaud all that the police is trying to do. They offer tremendous protection and accompaniment on our marches. They are sometimes hampered because of the lack of a number of things that are in desperate need of. We need stronger laws on gun crimes and real enforcement. We need to see the laws that are already in existence being enforced. And the reality is the people in the country do not feel safe anymore. And as a result of that, we are marching and we are asking all of you in this nation who do not feel safe to join us this coming Saturday, June the 14th, 10 o'clock at the Kensington Mall. We march to Independence Square. Let this government see that the people are not satisfied with their governance because we do not feel safe, and that is the number one responsibility of a government. And if you fail in that, frankly speaking, in my opinion, you should resign and hand the government over to somebody else to run. Children can't run it this bad. We could as well give it to them and let them handle it. And that's my take on the matter. So let me take the opportunity now to welcome my first guest presenter into the show tonight. This would be Mrs. Rose Corbin. And it's such a joy, Rose, to have you back on the show with me. I always look forward to you or Glenn or Maxine or Marcia or all of you joining me on the show. But it's such a joy to have you joining us again tonight. Welcome and good evening. You aren't muted, but we are not hearing you. You are not muted, but we aren't hearing you. So you probably need to make sure that your mic is selected on your system or something of that nature, because your mic here on my end is unmuted, but we are not hearing you. And if that doesn't work, it might not be a bad idea just to slip back out and come back in. All right, so let me get you to do that. Just maybe slip back out, come back in. As soon as you come back in, I'll bring you back into the show. But that is my take on the matter, folk. And I don't want to get into a lot of the other things while I'm waiting, while I'm waiting for Rose to come back in. I don't want to even begin to get into the matters of agriculture and this ridiculous situation that we are facing now with the sugar industry in Barbados and our Ministry of Agriculture. And the technocrats, I believe, people who are working in these governmental departments, I believe they're really doing their best. They're trying their best, but they're often hampered by politicians who are involved more in politics than in the reality of allowing the people who are employed to do their job to do their job. And when I look at the comments that are coming forth to me on an ongoing basis, I mean, is this really Barbados agriculture? These are some of the things sent to me. We got problems in the egg and poultry industry. We got problems in the chicken industry. We got problems with milk production. There was a time I could walk into the supermarket, pick up evaporated milk, pick up vanilla milk, pick up chocolate milk, pick up all kinds of milk. And put it into my trolley. Now I have to try just down the road from where I am. I have to try to get, if I see evaporated milk on the shelf, I have to pick up at least a couple of bottles to make sure that I can still get it. We still are struggling with the cotton. We're struggling with the feed program. The sugar industry is almost a dying element. We have 2,500 of our best black belly sheep that have been given away. We have farmers crying out. Okay. Just getting that repeat there again on the ad there, Dave. So just make sure your volumes are off. You get poor quality but expensive animal feed. Then you have the marauding monkeys all over the farmers' fields, 2-footed and 4-footed, and on we could go. So we want you to join us on this protest march, and we want to ask you to bring donations. And we're not just talking about monetarily. Bring donations. If you want to bring food donations, non-perishables and so on, bring them. If you want to bring clothing, because there are many people who are lacking clothing, they're lacking food. I mean, these are the realities our people are facing. And while economically it is concerning, economics and the matters of cost of living and whatnot pale in comparison to our liberties and freedoms for safety. How can we go to a supermarket and feel safe? So we want you to bring a donation, particularly to help us to pay for the bills of the march, because contrary to popular belief, no right-wing group in America supports the Marcy Week show. No political party supports the Marcy Week show. This show is supported by the members of the loyal opposition and those who are in agreement with the truths that we speak here and who feel that it is necessary for the government to be held to account. They told us about transparency and accountability when they were campaigning for government. They came to us and they promised integrity legislation. They said the draft was already in place. This was as far back as 2018. They came and told us the draft was in place. And here we are today, 2025, and still no integrity legislation. So come to this protest march Saturday, June the 14th. That's this coming Saturday. And please, we're asking you to bring a donation, primarily
I
a
believe
monetary
I
one.
had in my car.
Yep, I got you there, Rose. We can hear you loud and clear. All right, can hear you loud and clear. I'll come right to you in a moment. But we want to ask you to support the march by contributing to it, because this is how we are assisting the Marcy Week Show in footing the bill. The police are going to be there. We have to have the truck, the sound systems, and so on. That all costs us, and we want to thank you in advance for bringing a donation and wearing your national colors. This is not about the BLP. This is not about the DLP. This is about our country, Barbados. Welcome again, Rose. I heard you just now, so I think you may
You
have
heard
said,
me.
yes, I did. And I'm hearing you loud and clear. And we are seeing that lovely smile as well. So your camera is working perfect. Welcome to the Marcy Week Show.
Good evening, Pastor Ferdy. Always a pleasure to be with you. The energy, the synergy, I look forward to, and I want to say, as I always do, good evening, loyal sons and daughters, all firm craftsmen of our faith. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. And I'm
Good
sure in the
evening.
comments they will all be saying good evening to you and welcome, Rose.
Thank you. And maybe my smile is brought to hide the seesaw of up down of emotions that I've been experiencing over the last couple of days regarding what's happening in Barbados, particularly when we saw that headline yesterday on in the news. You know, we can't help but feel a tinge of unhappiness, living in fear. Um,
Mm.
we can't help but feel that unhappiness. So I've got to smile so that I don't project what's inside of me, that turmoil. But I'm very refreshed this evening. And I want to say too, as I look at the caption for the protest march, we don't feel safe. Remember a couple of weeks when they poured um, those, when Dr. Wickham spoke on one of the DLP platforms for the by-election, and he spoke of not feeling safe. They made a big issue, the other side, concerning his observations and his comments. But here we see it on the newspaper yesterday that 79-year-old lady is saying that she's living in fear. And so many across the island, we are untouched. We are either, some are touched directly, some are touched indirectly, vicariously, empathetically by the fear that seems to be pervading the island. And I am not a pessimistic person. I try to be optimistic. I try to be upbeat. I try to live with the hope that I have as a Christian. But there are times when one can feel the fear descend on you. And one wonders, is this my Barbados? Is this my Barbados? I'll be celebrating a birthday come Friday. And I never, thank you, and I never expected that I would be addressing issues like this. I would always tell a girlfriend, we can't wait till we get our pension cards, our pension, and we're going to ride the bus and we're going to the post office and collect our pensions together. Now, persons don't even want to venture out of their homes, and they are glad for online banking so they don't have to walk around with cash or keep cash in their homes. But the perpetrators of crime out there, the young people who want quick cash, by all means possible, they don't understand the dynamics of the elderly, the dynamics of persons that might pass and see you looking well or to them well off in a nice home, and they see you as a target. That's not my Barbados. And I'm not saying, Pastor Ferdy, that we did not have crimes and deviancy in our communities and across the nation, but not like this. How many murders, homicides have we had for the year? You said what, 21?
Oops. 21 in 22 weeks.
Almost 1 week. And we're not talking about assaults. We're not talking about robbery. We're not talking about rape that would have been reported. We're not talking about these things. So if these are added, what has become to my Barbados? And so I'm a little reflective tonight, more than I normally would be. And I'm asking ourselves and the viewers and those who write in the chat, I'm going to ask some questions and probably you could give me some answers. And last night, as I listened in, Mr. Murray in passing spoke to the tipping point. And I remember that I bought that book about 20 years ago. And I was intrigued. And I always looked out for the tipping point in various situations. And so we want to share with ourselves tonight on the tipping point. And have we toppled? I said it last night, and I'm saying I don't think we're at a tipping point anymore. I believe that we have toppled somewhat. And let's look at what is said about the tipping point. Can you see it your end better than I do here?
I can see the tipping point, a moment of small influences, but after which there is dramatic and sudden change.
And that's the tipping point. And we have a diagram here. You see the climb up, the ascent to the point. And we're told that it is steady, it's uphill, it is slow going. But when it reached that point, the tipping points, it crashes down. The momentum increase and it goes right down with accelerated speed. Let us look at more on the tipping point. And this is a summary of the book and what the author Malcolm Gladwell would have um, put forward on the tipping point. The most well known book on tipping points is The Tipping Point: How Little Things Can Make a Big Difference by Malcolm Gladwell. This book explores how seemingly small changes can trigger rapid and widespread shifts in behavior, trends, and ideas. And I want us to map mentally, have we had a tipping point experience? Are we at the tipping point or we have gone past that? And again, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I'm saying that we've gone past the tipping point. I can't, he's Corey Beckles, Corey, who started that one of the new parties.
Yes, attorney at law
And
Corey Beckles.
Corey Beckles
Yes.
and Corey, Mr. Beckles, last week said that crime has gone out of control, and he talked about that national security committee that was set up, and he said that we're at the tipping point. And he didn't compare his notes with mine, neither did he compare with Glenn, but we are at a point now where we are seeing that we are at the tipping point and we have gone past. And I want to find out, when did it happen? Let's look at the next page, some of the things that have been highlighted and what causes uh, the tipping points. Again, tipping points are the moments when a small change leads to a large, widespread shift. I am talking national level now, Pastor Ferdy.
Hmm.
I am coming out of the homes, and I'm talking about national level. I am seeing that there are some things at national level that could have led, may have led, and probably have led to the tipping point. And what are these small changes that have led to a large, widespread shift? And he talked about tipping points in everyday life, including the rise of hush puppy shoes. This was written, as I said, over almost 3 decades, when hush puppies were the end thing. You probably
Some of,
had, I
some
had
of
a
our
pair.
some of our young people probably don't even know what we're talking about when we talk about
Yes.
hush
And
puppies.
the tipping point that led
Uh,
to the drop in New York
New York
City's
rhyme
crime rate, and you could
Yes.
research that. The NYPD engaged in some very drastic actions, um, which led to the drop in the crime rate in New York City, so that they did not reach tipping point. They saw it was getting there, and they made some proactive um, actions before they reach tipping point. Let's look now at some of the behaviors or attributes or things that could be accorded to that tipping point. The law of the few. And this, Pastor Ferdy, has been playing in my head all last night. The law of the few, where a small number of influential people can have a disproportionate impact on social change. Do I need to go any further? Right now in Barbados, there seems to be the law of the few. The law of the few with the guns. The prime minister said, guns don't walk, guns don't talk. But how do these primarily young black men in Barbados get the guns to commit such violent acts against each other in terms of um, revenge hits, in terms of robberies, in terms of drive-by shootings, and others that we may not be aware of? Who are these small number of influential people? Are they known? Are they known to the law? What are their actions, their activities? Who are they that are causing this disproportionate impact on our society? There is the law right in our faces. We have that concept, the law of the few. Why is it that they cannot be found in a 2x3 island called Barbados? Why do they, this small number, and what influence do they have? What influence do they have? Please reflect with me. Where are they? Can they be located? How can we get rid of them? Smoke them out. They seem to have some kind of visibility, and I keep remembering people have spoken to the opening of Parliament where persons of a small number of influential persons in another sector of society were seen at the opening of Parliament. And this is the law of the few. Pastor Ferdy, I'm convinced that a few influential persons whose behaviors may not be positive are causing this impact on our society, causing this fear that is gripping us, causing this anxiety, the trouble that we are experiencing at national level, that we are experiencing in our schools, on our streets. Then we have the stickiness factor, and I would go past that one. But look at the power of context, how the environment and circumstances can influence behavior and outcomes. The power of context, how the environment and circumstances can influence behavior and outcome. And we are seeing how the environment here in Barbados has changed, and changed so rapidly because of the influence of the law of the few. Are you following me, Pastor?
Oh, yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am. Very much so.
I'm not explaining myself. I'm
No,
so
no, no.
caught
You're
up
doing
with it,
you're doing an excellent
emotionally.
you're doing an excellent job. Excellent job. I thought of the Pareto principle, you know, the 80-20 principle when you were talking about the law of the few. 20% of people doing 80% of the work, but in this instance, 20% of the people doing 80% of the crime. The law of the few. and the power of context, environment. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And could we scroll and let me see if there's another one I want to pick apart? Is that the end?
No, I think we have one more, the epidemic of ideas and trends.
Yes. And right now, the he uses a lot of metaphors to explain how ideas, products, and behavior spread rapidly. I don't want to go into, the type of metaphors, but there is an epidemic in Barbados, and we are seeing it spreading rapidly. And it's not what's happening at the geriatric hospital. And so we are having it being refuted. No, it isn't. So that's another for those who want to deal with the health matter. But it is spreading. It seems as though a disease called indifference, a disease called callousness, and a disease called is wanton, it is emboldened, it is brazen. And I am asking who or what has emboldened or embrazen. And I'm starting here as a trainer of participatory research. I am starting with our current realities. Our current realities reside within the context of the present, the most recent. And I am hearing the Prime Minister talk about the George Bridge that was signed in Georgetown by the CARICOM heads of government to look at crime and violence. I would have shared on that before. I hope I have another opportunity to revisit the things that the Prime Minister would have aligned herself to, spoken to as the chair of CARICOM. She leaves, demits that position the 30th of June. But there are still some pressing questions that we must ask. What has happened under her chairmanship as the leader, the chair of CARICOM, in terms of the narratives and the declarations that were made on crime and violence in the region? If you can manage it at micro level, tell us what's happening then at the CARICOM level, and if it is going to trickle down to see a reduction of crime and violence. One, I think the declaration that was made in Grenada, or Trinidad, spoke to music that denigrates women and children and violence and promotes violence. Did we not have Vibes Cartel here recently?
Yes, we did.
And they made a declaration against such at one of the CARICOM heads of government meeting. I want us to find out. I believe that David Thompson, the late David Thompson, with his emphasis on families first, realized that the tipping point would come and it would just get out of control if we did not look at the family and support families. You remember when that was his platform, campaign, slogan.
Yes.
That you remember how the other side laughed at him. And I think their slogan was "Going with Owen." And now it has come back to haunt us. And the Prime Minister now is saying families must come together. Families must take their children to church. While in the wider society, we are not seeing it being reflected at that level, the political level.
All
We are
talk,
toppling
all talk.
the top, we're becoming popped down. Then I remember, I think it was around 2011, when the then Minister of Education, Ronald Jones, he talked about the children having demons, and they must be cleansed of these demons if they are way to get rid of the deviant behaviors in schools. I mean, when I heard that, I said, "Come on, uh, Minister Jones, you know, you know." I understood what he was saying, but come on, watch it, you can't put it differently. But he realized that we were at the tipping point. But what did they do? They laughed at him. The other side laughed at him. And they 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 they, they labeled that period as the lost decade. And when the Prime Minister launched her manifesto in 2018,
18.
I am asking, I studied it again. Did she see the tipping point and offered what mission critical, and said that within 6 months of assuming government that she was going to address crime and the violence in school. Remember, I keep coming back to that. Putting guidance, more counselors in school, putting persons on the buses or where students congregate to control deviant behaviors among students. And what have we had since then? We have had a widespread Princess Margaret School. Last week, the teachers reached the tipping point at Princess Margaret School. Things have toppled now. They have reached the point and gone downhill. And there's no coming. I'm not saying there's no coming back, but who will bring it back? And I know that the chief education officer, her background and interest is in technology, robotics. And that is what is being pushed. And I have another clip on education where this teacher in New York resigned or retired after 20 plus years and says she's done with it. The children in the school are bad behaved, they can't read, and technology is driving the bad behavior and the lack of literacy amongst the students. And I was saying, oh, this isn't really going to happen in Barbados, or we won't have teachers leaving the system because of those um those things that she pointed out. And then the next day, Pastor Ferdy, we had this issue at Princess Margaret in the press. Who is responsible? This is don't tell me it's the church. You and I know that the church, and I can speak For the Anglican Church, I know they're doing things within their YPA, the Pentecostal assemblies, the Methodist, the Moravian churches across Barbados are doing as much as it's allowed or they can to intervene. Civil society is. But when it comes to national level, the opportunity came here, and I listened to the Prime Minister's speech at the by-election in St. James North. And yes, she did, in all fairness, address crime and violence. But you know how it was addressed? How many police, what they've done for the police force, how many they are recruiting, how many they have upgraded. But we are not hearing, and she talked about the legislation that will be put in place and the judges that were appointed. But I still am not hearing how are you averting, intervening, or acting proactively where the guns are concerned. Where are they coming in? Do you know who are the law of the few who are bringing in the drugs, the few who control the turf? And don't tell me you don't know, because you had a peace program that targeted those segments of society. What has happened to the peace program? I thought that Kirk Humphrey was the savior, the Messiah, because it seemed as though Mr. Corey Lane was just the John the Baptist, if I were to use a metaphor. And Mr. Humphrey was the Messiah, would be solved. What are we doing about this tipping point? If they are coming up the hill towards the point, can they be stopped?
Well, Rose, I will say this to you, and of course, we're out of time in this segment. My goodness, there's so much contained in it. But I'll say to you, as I looked at the diagram, with the ball being pushed up the hill, I would dare say that we have probably reached the pinnacle. And in my science knowledge, when I did my science, we talked about what was called potential energy. That is the energy of something by virtue of its position, and then the kinetic by virtue of its motion. And so if you look at the top, with them pushing the ball up to the top of the mound, if that gets to the top, excuse me, and rolls over, it has its own energy, and it will carry itself, and it is virtually impossible to stop. So we pray this evening, Rose, that we have not actually gone over the top before, because God help us if we have. We definitely will need some serious spiritual intervention by the Lord, who is the people's guide. But we've run out of time, Rose, and it's always a problem. One of these days we're going to be able to come on and stay on a little longer and deal with these matters, because they're also critically important. And I want to say thank you and ask you to just stay we're going to put you in the green room, all right? In that lovely green room, because we do have a calling segment of the program. But there's just so much to share in these shows that people need to hear, need to see. And as you know, we have been recently sharing the aspects of the mic on the move in Dominica, so that the people in Barbados can see what has been happening as a result of Barbados' interference into the Dominican environment. And so we want to continue that tonight. But we want to thank you so very much for sharing that segment with us. And we really want you to just stay in the room, so that right back there in the green room, so that when we go to those call-in segments, maybe there are people who would want to ask questions or contribute to what you said. So thank you so very much, and we're going to
Thank you
move then
too.
on to this next segment, with Mike on the move. And Dave, we're going to let you run this next segment for us.
Pumping tech gas discriminately in the village. And all of a sudden, God just woke me in a mysterious way, and a strong wind come from the east, blowing down to the west, and blowing back the tech gas to them. And that's how Salisbury get a little relief.
Wow. I mean, to listen to some of these stories coming out of Dominica, it's incredible, what we have engaged, what we have done, what we have experienced. I think that was a little error there, though, but because that's supposed to be a bit longer, I'm going to see if they're going to be able to bring that back in. But it's been heartrending to listen to what some of these people have had to go through as a result of things that have transpired in Dominique. Of course, we know that things have become somewhat volatile there as well, as a result of the decision of the good friend of the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mr. Skerritt, over in Dominica, amending the electoral legislation there to facilitate an advantageous position of the government, if you can put it brutally that way. So, Dave, let's try that again. Let's just see if we can get that running right through, right clear. Just waiting for that to come back up. Rose has shared an excellent presentation there with us a moment ago. And again, we need to be engaging this process. And this is why we're asking you to join us this coming Saturday. If you are concerned, disturbed, upset, worried, fearful, however you want to term it, remember, when the wicked rule, people groan. And if people are growing, it is our responsibility to get out there, march together, and say to the government, we are not satisfied. You have to change. You have to address the accessibility to weapons in this country. Something is wrong. I mean, I made some notes as Rose was sharing, and one of the notes I made was, where is the task force as it relates to this whole aspect of criminal activity in the country? What is the action? What is the involvement of the task force? I know some people may be worried or concerned by what I have said some time before, and may repeat it and will repeat it again today, that if necessary, let's get the Barbados, I think it's the Barbados Defense Force. I don't know if it still carries that name. Let's get them involved, because, I saw a picture of weapons that the police were showcasing. And one of the things I asked was, where's the date stamp on that picture? Where's that date stamp? Well, we're back with this Mike on the move. So let's go back into it again, and hopefully we can get this running without that error.
When they came, that was for Farm Road and thing. And when 2015, they were pumping tech gas discriminately in the village. And all of a sudden, God just woke me in a mysterious way, and a strong wind come from the east, blowing down to the west, and blowing back the tech gas to them. And that's how Salisbury get a little relief. They themselves had to be running for cover too, because the tech gas. And I don't know, our young people, they brave themselves up, and they would take the tech gas and send it back, and that's how we get a little relief.
Yeah.
It's just.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
when that happened,
the following week, we were supposed to go to court.
Yeah.
We were supposed to go to court, and
You were supposed to go to court.
Yeah, they took about 80 of us to court, and the day we were supposed to go to court, the morning when we woke up, rain came and washed down the bridge,
Oh wow.
and we couldn't go.
Erica came
yeah,
and
washed down the
delivered and
bridge.
rescued you all.
Yeah,
So
washed
when
down
we
the-
thought like, oh, Dominica, God was rescuing you all
yeah.
for
and
Salisbury.
we had to be at court that day.
Wow,
That day,
this
yeah.
trip is really, and we are saying we haven't heard anything about that since morning, you know, and we're right at, isn't this a church?
Yes.
Wow, and this is where we're hearing about the rescuing power of God.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you mentioned it a little bit today,
Yeah.
but you're saying that the Erica,
Yeah, Erica.
that hurricane,
That hurricane, yeah.
The storm.
that storm,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah,
storm was a
yeah.
blessing for you guys.
Yeah, man.
How many of you were going to
About
be
80 people.
80 people
of
from
them.
Salisbury, and so the case gonna go through.
We couldn't go through that time. Yeah, when people wake up, vehicles can't go to town.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, God. The
The
bridge got washed away.
the West Coast cut off.
Cut off.
And what has happened to the case now?
Well, it is pending, you know.
We
It's
took
pending.
it was through the magistrate's court, and we took over that matter. Our lawyers took them to court on the High Court. So that
Yes.
matter is stayed. So we're still waiting for our matter at the High Court. So we have two matters before the High Court. The first one for 2015 and the second one for 2019. So that's where we are.
That's where you are right now.
right now.
Well, it's getting dark, but we still just wanted to. That's a beautiful end. That God, He has not forgotten Salisbury, and He would send us here.
His power was manifest.
Yes, His power was manifested then with that wind that came and blew the tear gas away.
And then tropical Erica.
And then tropical storm
We were
Erica
to go to court.
to court, and this man came on my live. Somebody found the live by mistake, right? Never watched the live before, and then started sending it all around Dominica. And you came on my live just commenting. Yes, and I said I would wish to go to Dominica, and by the next morning I'm here in Dominica. So, you know, I just want to say, to God be the glory, and God has not forgotten Salisbury, and He's
Yeah, because we are innocent.
Yes.
We are
Something.
fighting for certain things that we are in need of.
yes,
And these guys would not come and negotiate. All they would do is just come
Just
and take
take
the
gas to
village.
people. And we have witnessed protests in Layu, and they came.
Layu. Where is Layu?
Layu, that is just after St. Joseph. Okay, you know that double bridge on the river, the
Yes.
large river? I don't know if you cross it.
Did we cross?
Yes, from there you're coming.
I was thinking that we crossed that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So they had a protest there
Yes.
because a company was filling
Asphalt, yeah.
asphalt in the area and
Yeah.
was disturbing the people, and they protested against it. The police came and they stood up afar off, and they went. Official came from the government. They spoke to the people. They came to an agreement. They said they would stop the company, but that was a bluff. They bluffed them. But at
someone
least
did not take gas to people.
they did not
They did not
and
tear
they
gas.
did not violate the people.
Right. They listened to them.
Our parrot was violated in our presence by
Yeah.
police officers,
Yeah.
holding his throat, choking him,
Yeah.
and the people had to just retaliate. Retaliate
Yeah,
right in our presence. Our parliamentary representative is assaulted by police,
Right. Oh,
and
wow.
other people too was assaulted, and that what brought violence in the protests.
Yeah.
The police started it.
Even recently, there was a protest action in Calibishi for the plane.
Yes. Come over a little bit.
Yeah.
To that side where the light is. Yeah.
Building a plane, a school on a plane for the Calibishi. And the people protested, and the entire cabinet went down to Calibishi. That was recently, just last year. We
Right.
negotiated with them. But Salisbury, they will not negotiate. They will only send take gas rubber bullets and live from ammunition.
Right.
And there was a protest in Coliho too.
Yeah.
When people were getting dust in their homes.
Yeah.
And the people protested, they blocked the road. and they came and they negotiated with the people too. They never tear gas the people.
Never tear gas
But
the
once
people.
it's Salisbury, first thing they do is just come and start tear gas in the village.
Yeah.
They will not
Well,
meet the demands of the people.
yes.
And they will just start
Well,
tear
well,
gas.
God is still on your side. He's still doing miracles, you know, and we are grateful to be here. It's an honor. It's an honor to help to tell your story. There are others who have gone before us and told your stories, and we are happy that we could be chosen to do that.
Although if we have to go in detail, you just have the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, but I'm sure we'll come back. We'll come back.
That have fallen on Salisbury.
Yes.
But we have done a lot today.
Yes.
We have done a lot of information
Thank
today.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Yes.
appreciate that.
Okay then.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, just to listen to these stories. I mean, people protesting. There seems to be a real dislike for the Salisbury area by the government, because you would have heard the person speaking to the fact that there were protests in other areas where even government representatives came and negotiated and talked and discussed and so forth. But when it came to Salisbury, they tear gassed them. And you know, I'm listening with a smile on the inside. Uh, Boy, let me tell you something. God ain't dead. Folk, we, you know, at the very beginning of the show tonight, I asked Dave to repeat that second stanza, that you could put it up and we can see it. The Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. With him still on the people's side, we have no doubts or fears. I'm telling you today, ladies and gentlemen, members of the loyal opposition, God is not dead. I've often said, you know, he doesn't sleep and he doesn't slumber. Here are these people who are faced with an environment that, you know, I've never experienced tear gas, to be honest with you. I have spoken with people concerning tear gas and the phenomenal impact it has, the burning of the eyes and your skin, and people have been vomiting and all of that. And the gentleman spoke about how a wind came and reversed the flow of the tear gas and sent it straight back down by the police who had deployed it in the first case. And you know, these are some remarkable stories. Erica, the storm that wiped out that bridge. You know, I mean, these are remarkable testimonies that we're hearing. That on the normal circumstances we shouldn't even be hearing this stuff. But these people are telling you what they experienced, what they went through. Well, let's listen to the next one here that we have.
Again, in Salisbury with Derek, and Derek was also had a very interesting experience in 2019 during the protests. Good evening, Derek.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes. Tell us about your experience in the protests in 2019.
Yes. It was a horrible one.
Yeah, speak up a little louder.
Seem to be having a little bit of a challenge there in terms of the sound, getting some challenges there technically. So we're just going to see what we can do there. It could be internet connection. It could be that as well, because we had it intermittently coming in. But you know, these people have gone through and suffered so much, and I've been following the videos, listening to their stories, and to believe that we would condone this kind of thing, and you know, sending our defense force against these people down in Dominica, where I think it was Grenada pulled theirs back, St. Lucia I think pulled theirs back, from what I understand. You know, and these situations should not be encouraged, and we should not be complicit in it with our leadership in terms of CARICOM tending to side with the government by presenting themselves there. Listen, it's wisdom. It's wisdom, man. I don't care how good you know somebody, how well you know somebody. It's wisdom. There's certain things that you don't do. You know, many years ago, my wife made a statement to me, and she said, "It is not always what is right or what is wrong, but what is wise." And maybe it is necessary for our government and for some of our leaders to learn wisdom. All right, we need to engage this. Well, we're having some real technical difficulties there with that. So what we're going to do is that we're going to come back. Right, we're going to come back with this on Wednesday. All right, and we're going to present that on Wednesday for you, and we'll continue to follow this situation in Dominica. All right, but we have been talking this evening about the situation of crime in this country, and I've shared a number of the things that you would have heard me engage through the beginning of the show, and I want to welcome my good friend and brother, Doctor. I'm giving him Doctor.
You call
Doctor.
me?
Can I
Doctor.
call you can I call you Dr. Victor Lewis?
You're welcome, sir.
Because doctors prescribe remedies.
Remedies.
Remedies. Well, they're supposed to prescribe remedies.
Supposed to. Wonderful,
And
wonderful, wonderful.
You're a former law enforcement officer, are you not?
Correct, sir.
And I mean, Victor, how do you feel? I know you have something to share with us tonight, and I want to open up the floor, of course, welcome you to the show tonight. But how do you feel when you see what is happening in this country and you hear some of the ludicrous offerings being made by this administration in an effort to curb this ongoing epidemic of crime that we're facing?
You know, you use the word curb, and you know, curb from a synonymous perspective means to reduce, you know, or to bring under control, as the case may be. But before I get to that, good evening to you and good evening to the loyal
Good evening to you as
opposition.
well.
You know, I was watching the show there just now relative to Dominica, and you know, your sentiments are so true. Down there was in a total state, you know. I was there during the time for the repairing of the roofs. So I was in Salisbury, you know, and I was high up on a mountain to the east of the actual area that bridge was washed away. When I said a whole bridge gone to the sea, a whole bridge, you know, everything gone to the sea, you know, and then the other bridge there, close to St. Joseph, that experience was a very mind-boggling one. When you saw the ravages, you know, the destruction that those folks experienced, and then had to live through it, and then to be saddled with that kind of behavior then in 2019, you know, was so unfortunate. So we must continue to reach out to Dominica and do whatever we can as a people to keep them on the path, and to, you know, do whatever we can in terms of the restoration, not only from an economic standpoint, but also from a social and political standpoint, that level of stability that we can find being part of that domain again. I want to get back to this whole aspect of crime, you know, Dr. Ferdinand, because, you know, we must understand or be able to appreciate that crime is a business. You know, it is a business. And in this business, we know very well that lawyers play a very significant role. They're either there as a defense lawyer or they're there to prosecute. But lawyers play a very significant role in the whole process of crime. So, you know, we're talking about curbing, but is it in the best interest to curb crime when we know, and it could be quite ironic, but who leads our country? You know, who leads our country? A lawyer. Who is the attorney general? A lawyer. Who goes to the court and stand up either to prosecute or to defend for money as we know it. And we know that we can recall the whole concept of money. So crime is a business. So the more crime we get in this country, those individuals who either prosecute or defend, business is good for them. And I think it is rather unfortunate that we have found ourselves as a country. You know, I'm not saying that all criminals, all lawyers are criminals, of course not. Certainly not. But crime is a business. And we know very well that what occurred recently with respect to those known criminals in this country and the extent of the thousands of dollars that were paid with a view of allowing the statistics to look good in respect of crime. But crime still continues. And, you know, I sat and I listened to Marcia last night, you know, and I could have felt the pain.
Yes.
When she spoke about that 76-year-old lady. 76 years old. You know, and I mean, that resonates with us. When we saw what happened to that guy on Belmont Road.
Yes.
You know, I mean, how can we sit down as a people and allow crime to continue like this? And I want to take you back also, Dr. Ferdinand, you know, to my days at Allen School. You know, because as a management team, when you pass through that door, male or female, you must look the part. There are standards, there's a level of discipline that we enforce in our children. But what has happened under this administration? Do the profile for criminals now. I mean, we can see it. I have seen so many criminals. And let me take back the word criminals. I've seen so many victims. I've seen so many individuals who became victim of gunshots, who have gone to the far beyond. And every time we took a photo of them, there are certain things that stands out. Name two of those things, Brother Ferdinand. You know, two common things in those photos that you see, man.
Would I be correct in saying number one, youth, and number two, men?
No, well, those are true. Of course, there are more males than females. And of course, they're young because the average age could be in the 20s. But two dominant things that stand out in all those photos is the hairstyle and the chain. The hairstyle and the chain, come on. Okay, come on, Mr. Ferdinand, wake up, man.
I can't go to the head of the class.
Yes, man. No, man. You must do your homework, man. Yes. You know, every time you see a photo, in 90-something% of them, you see a hairstyle. And that hairstyle now is reflected in how our boys are going to school in primary and secondary. So what are we doing? We are producing a business for more criminals. And I want to say to who the gentleman again that got him down in St. James, North again. Bear with me, you know, because
you mean Mr. Chad Blackman, I believe?
Mr. Chad Blackman.
Yes.
I want to call upon him. If he has any wisdom, if he has any, you know, backbone, stand up and change that. No person could walk through the gates of Allen School unless your hair was of a certain height and cut neat. No tight pants. Those things. But no earrings. Now I am seeing primary school children with earrings in their ears and all kind of haircuts that when I look at them, they look just like the criminals. They look just like the victims of crime. And whenever we do a profile now, look at all the profiles that the Barbados Police Service sends out for us then, known criminal, armed and dangerous. They asking him to report to the nearest police station, accompanied by, a lawyer. Of course, a lawyer again. And every time we see those photos, Dr. Ferdinand, they look just like the school children. We are preparing our boys, mainly boys, because the girls practically look the same way. They might got all the donkey hair and all the other things, as far as the trappings are concerned. But those boys look now and feel within themselves that they have been emboldened to behave like criminals on the ZRs, on the transport board buses, in the schools. That's why, what's going on in Princess Margaret School and Frederick Smith and all the above, those are the problems. How those guys feel now, they have been emboldened, and they tell you straight to your face, you can't do us anything.
You can't do me nothing. But didn't we have, Victor, and I stand to be corrected. You can correct me, because back in those days I was a child. But didn't we have better liaise between parents, or should I say guardians? Let me say guardians, which would include parents, grandparents, even village members, and the schools and the administration of schools, where parents knew that their children couldn't leave to go to school a certain way, so they couldn't leave home. I remember back in those days we all had afros. I don't know if you, I mean, both
Yeah,
you and
I had my afro too. I had my afro too, man.
we don't have
Man.
enough now to have afro, but the afro had to be trimmed. You had to be tidy. You had to have on your epaulets. Your school socks could not be at your ankles. They had to be up by your calves, your shoes, everything. But wasn't there greater cooperation between parents and guardians and schools in those days? Not that it was perfect, but wasn't there greater cooperation? I mean,
Well,
today you get parents going to schools to fight with teachers who would take away a cell phone from a child using it during class, confiscate it, that they may get it back in the evening, and the parent will turn up to fight with the teacher at the school.
Yes, but Dr. Ferdinand, and I can say Reverend Ferdinand, that the Word of God says to us, that children will be getting children. So we've reached a stage now in 2025 when you see a mother or a father comes to the school, technically speaking, there ain't much difference in the appearance in terms of age, one, their actual demeanor, their deportment, all is reflective of a society that has gone 360. The standards now are far below expectations. That's why you have some young teachers out there now, because the majority of them now, are relatively young, and they're challenged. They're in a society now where everyone has a phone. Before you can speak well, you're being recorded. And that recording gets to the parents before you can even leave the class. And the parents are waiting either on the bus or waiting, I'm getting a bit of feedback here now. I'm getting a bit of feedback.
Yeah, they'll soon have that. We've been getting that as a little challenge when we bring up some of the clips.
Right.
Where the clip itself probably it has an open mic situation, but they generally will catch it before it goes too far. But I'm reading the comments as we speak as well. That of course we know that the hairstyles are not necessarily, Victor, the issue, because the hairstyles, how they're kept, how they're maintained is I think mainly the issue now, more than just what the style is, because we recognize that styles would change over time. I mean, there was a time that we could wear afro at school at all, period. but things have changed. But what I observe is the whole aspect of parenting. I mean, we in the church see this as a challenge as well. The whole aspect of how parenting occurs. And you said something just now that is very, to my mind, very important. You have children raising children. Back in our day, it was not just our parents who raised us. It was literally, I mean, to talk about a village raising a child, but that was literally the situation back in our day. Literally.
Mhm. You know, I don't have a difficulty. I don't have a difficulty with a natural hairstyle, and this is the degree of subjectivity that comes in now. You know, I don't have a difficulty because they show the photo there just now, and they show the photo
Uh-huh.
with quite a lot of ladies wearing the natural hairstyle. And natural could be a bit ambiguous because what do you mean by natural relative to who? Who sets the standard? Natural to who? You know, are we waving our way back to Africa? Because if you go and look at those Africans, the majority of Africans that I see on my little TV here, they wear bald head. You know, a lot of them bald, cut the hair. A lot of those children you see going to school in Africa, the haircuts low. But of course, discipline, you know, is something that we ought to enforce amongst our students. And I'm going to be conscious of the fact that when a child reaches a point where they have gone off to community college, the polytechnic, or they have gone on to some level of post-secondary education, tertiary level as the case may be, they have then the liberty to dress how you want to dress, to wear your hairstyle how you want to wear it. But the school ought to be seen as an institution that enforces discipline. These are the standards of this school, and you are expected to follow these standards because we're not only there to train our students in terms of the academics. There's a level of discipline that we have to be concerned about because we're preparing our students to be part of our society. Yes, bring it in there, bring it in, bring it in. I don't know what school is this. I don't know if they're coming in from Africa, but look at the lady, look at the lady there sitting on the ground. You know, look at
It
the
looks
lady
like
there sitting on the ground.
it looks like an African.
Yeah,
It looks like an
but
African.
you see any of them that look like the other photo we saw just now? Look at those. Look at them. You know, and I don't know. I would assume I'm seeing here male and female. I would assume so.
Yeah, I
You know.
think this is from you remember Dave and Marcia actually went to Africa, and I believe this may
Hmm.
be a clip from Kenya.
Hmm.
This may be a clip from Kenya, but
Yeah.
the point that you're making, though, to my mind, needs to be reinforced, and that's the aspect of discipline.
Discipline.
Because the first experience of authoritative relationship occurs in a family. That's the first
Hmm.
encounter a child has with authority. And if that
Hmm.
authority does not institute in that child's mentality, because a child is born, as we would traditionally say, a unwritten book, plain page, nothing
Precisely.
there, so that
Total ignorance.
the teachings that that child receives within its first institutional realm that should be engaging it with discipline would be family. And then
Hmm.
I think the second would then be possibly church, and I think between church and school, so that you would then get
Oh
a
yes.
transitioning,
Hold it,
of
hold it, hold it there,
discipline.
hold it there, hold it
Yeah,
there, hold it there, Dr. Ferdinand. Hold it there. Look at these folks. You see any of them that look like our boys? You know? And I hold no apologies. The boys in our schools now, primary school and secondary schools, all of them that dress with those hairstyles, all of them look like criminals. They look just like the folks that we see when we take photographs for wanted criminals by the police. When we take photographs of individuals who are victims of gun violence, not victims from the perspective of having done wrong, but in the majority of cases, those victims were the perpetrators. And of course, we know that none of them bring back the photo there, Dave, man. Bring back the photo. Let the people see it. You know, let the individual in the Ministry of Education see it. Then if we think within ourselves based upon our leader who wants to, you know, get on the stage and, you know, pump a set of going back to Africa. If we're back to Africa, this is what we're back to. We're back to beautiful haircuts. Beautiful haircuts. You know, bring it low. You know, a nice rung up. That's how we had it. Coming up in primary school and secondary school. After you then go off to community college, then you can wear your hair a little longer. You don't have to comb it if you want to. That's in community college after you've been through a process of discipline. Look at those beautiful guys, man. Look at that.
You see what you're speaking to is the foundational development, so to speak.
Yes,
and
give them that root.
You shifted over from calling me doctor a moment ago to calling me Rev. So
Yes,
permit me
man.
to quote another biblical verse.
Go ahead,
that
my brother.
says, if the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? If the foundations be destroyed. So what we are, and mind you, just keep in mind though, Victor, that a lot of these images you're seeing here are actually girls, huh? A lot of these folks you're seeing here, mixture of girls and boys. But getting back to the verse, you know, these foundational morals and values. We're not talking about we're talking about what is right and what is wrong being instilled in a child, because the Jesuits say, give us a child for the first 7 years and I will show you the man. That's what they say. And from a psychological standpoint, when we are ministering in our churches and we are going through what we would refer to as deliverance sessions, we take adults as far back as their childhood so that we can see what was enshrined in them at their childhood that has resulted in what they are today as an adult. And so I understand the point you're trying to make, that because we have shifted away from some fundamental values that we as a society establish as a standard for our children, we are, what is it? If you sow to the wind, you will reap the whirlwind, I think is how the verse puts it.
Precisely.
And you're saying now, as a result of sowing to the wind, that what we
We
are
are
reaping now is the whirlwind. Here's another
Yeah.
picture of a young lady in Africa. And, you know, I am not, I will tell you a little joke if I can, because I know we have a few minutes running, and we do want to do, I think there's a video they want to do too during this segment, Victor, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, that's no
with the
problem.
with the mic on the move. I think it has to actually do with the matter of the tint. I stand to be corrected, but I think it does, because we want to touch on that as well. But you know, I was saying that, you know, some of these things that we see today. Let me put it that way. These things that we see today, you know, our values have been gradually but quickly being eroded and continue to be eroded. As a result of that,
But
maybe what we're
you made
seeing.
a statement there just now, you know. You said if the foundation has been removed.
Yeah,
But I would
if the
want to say to
foundation
you,
is right.
when the foundation has been removed, this is what we will experience. So our foundation has been removed, and this is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing now.
Well, and again, we understand the aspect of differences of cultures. We know how people are in Africa, and I dare say that you can't dress the same way in Africa as you dress up here, because the heat down there would cause it to really change your whole perspective on how you get about your business. But certainly in terms of what we establish in children at a primary school level, I mean, there's some activities I see that parents engage at a primary school level that I don't think are, is sending a correct message to a child at a primary school level. And as that child develops, if it's not disciplined, if it is allowed to do whatever it wants, watch whatever it wants, then what you're doing is you're actually setting that child up for a disaster in the future. And I don't think a lot of parents appreciate the fact that a lot of what they are allowing in terms of, you hear people say, well, she's just a child, she's just a child. But there's an aspect of discipline. What is it? What is it again? The scripture says, you're pushing me back to my Reverend. Train up in a child in the way it should go. And when it is old, it will not depart from it. Victor, when it talks about old, it's not talking about when you get up at your age. Notice I said your age, not ours. Your age. Okay? It is talking about when the child begins to grow whiskers and has armpit hair and hair developing on its chest. Now, I'm looking here. Was this something you sent to them?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
guess
looking
that's
here at this clip they have up, and I mentioned the task force. You are you're a former police officer, or what I called you again when you started is this American terminology, law enforcement officer. What is your view in terms of, you remember there's something called the task force? They dress in blue, and it's almost like they carry heavy duty weapons. I call them heavy duty weapons, and they're dressed in body armor and all that kind of thing. I've seen them in operations sometimes at night. What is your view in terms of that type of thing? And in a moment, as soon as you finish that, we want to slip into this mic on the move, because I believe it may be touching on a number of these areas. But what is your view of the involvement of the task force in dealing with some of this serious crime?
The police, the Royal Barbados Police Service now is quite an interesting organization, because, back in my days, a few years back, we stood up for discipline, and of course, in those days, there weren't the cameras. Everybody now has a phone, everybody's being recorded, everybody's being taken to the court, and before you can get back to the police station, good, everything going viral. So the police now, they're operating in a totally different environment. But I would want to endorse, in a very significant way, the task force, because the task force has been designed to deal with the criminal level, that displays themselves in a more profound way, right? And one that really institutes quite a lot of challenges for the general community. So when it's time to step it up, as we would call it, the task force steps in, But what is stepping in, what has stepped into our society now is this whole idea of social media. And the social media, the police also now do have a challenge, and a very significant one, because in my day, that wasn't the case. So when you're caught out there and you are doing something of a criminal element, you will be raked off of the street, you'll be raked out of the house, and you're into the police station. And when you come out, you will be calm, cool, and collective. Calm, cool, and collective. But I'm saying that kind of policy we had free way to do back then, but now with social media in place, the police force have got to be very considerate, because they're lawyers out there waiting and ready to put you before the court. So you between a rock and a hard place.
Yes, yes. Well, let's take a look at this mic on the move that Marcia has prepared, and I'll come back to a comment that has been made here in the chat, because there are a number of different viewpoints on the matter of disciplines and styles and so on. And there's a comment here that I want to share with you and just get your response to it. All right, but let's go to the mic on the move. This is in Barbados, I understand, and let's see what Barbadians are saying. Just waiting for them to bring that up. And while they're doing that, I'm looking at Special Task Force to fight crime. I think a Special Task Force, Victor, was actually established, I believe so, some time ago. I don't know what
in Parliament right now. So we're just asking Barbadians, what do they think? Do they think that removing the tint from the cars, if it would help to reduce crime?
No, because the motorcycles, they can do drive-by on motorcycles. Motorcycles doesn't have tint. People walk and do crime.
People walk and do crime. Yes. So you don't think that? You're saying people use motorcycles?
You can use a motorcycle.
You can use a bicycle.
A bicycle.
You can walk. Yeah. It doesn't matter. If your money is set to do crime, you are going to do crime regardless of what form of transportation you have.
Yes, but I mean, do you understand though that the government is saying you have to pay $500 if you have tint on your car? You'll be fine.
Yeah, but that's yes, which is good. Reducing the tint, because then you can see it.
But you don't think that it's going to really reduce the crime?
No, I don't.
You don't think it's connected?
You shouldn't cut out tint completely. You could reduce the tint percentage, because it does protect people's skin with eczema and stuff like that. But you should not completely ask persons to take it off cars. You shouldn't.
But some cars, somebody told me, actually come with it.
Yeah.
You buy the car with the tint.
So will the government, everybody in parliamentarians, everybody, will they be taking off tint?
Well, apparently there are certain officials that their tint remains.
What was for watching?
They should reduce the tint, yes, because then you can see any activity within. But what they need to do, not only the tint, but they need to get stiffer penalties for these people that are committing these crimes, because it's just a slap on the wrist.
So you think a more comprehensive approach?
Yeah.
And not focus so much on the tint? Wow. Okay, what about
the mindset of the people?
The mindset.
It doesn't have anything to do with tint. Lower the percentage, but it is also the mindset of the people.
The mindset. So we need to work on that mindset, and you said so stiffer legislation.
They need it. So I mean, they're just holding these people and sending them up there to do what? Eat out the taxpayers' money?
Yes,
that's it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. They need better.
More stern measures.
Yes.
With this crime, they do.
Yes.
Because
yes.
you have to think the same way how these people are thinking. You have to think two steps.
Two steps ahead. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. No, ma'am. Believe me, they understand. The camera is on me, right? You understand that, right? No lens is there. Look, you can look to see, but it's just me, and it's pointing over there. I would not do that. Okay, ladies, which school is this again? Dighton Griffith, and you would know the little boy, from Leicester Vaughan, the 13-year-old. You heard about him who got killed. What?
Yeah,
Siobhan. He went to lodge. You heard about it? Yeah, because I figure. No, with what they're trying to do, the government, is to try to reduce crime. And one of the things that they're doing is to remove the tint, asking people to remove the tint from their cars, or you will have to be fined. Do you think there's a correlation between tint and the murders that's happening in Barbados? And the crime on a whole?
I'm not sure, because really all tint was do is hide the faces in the car, but even without the tent, people will still commit crimes with the car. So it doesn't matter the car, it matters the people inside the car.
So in your mind, you think it doesn't matter? You think?
Whether the tent is there or not, it's
I'm
not
coming
stopping
close so I
anybody.
can hear you, huh?
Yeah, whether the tent is there or not, it's not stopping anybody. Because like even though his windows are open, or if he ain't got nothing, he can still pick up a gun and shoot you through the window. So it ain't really making a difference.
Right. You don't. What do you think, ma'am?
I would say same.
The same thing as her. Are you concerned about the crime, the level of crime in Barbados?
I haven't really thought about it.
You haven't really thought about it. How about you?
I mean, it's dangerous for the young people to be outside now, but other than that, I don't really think about it.
You don't really think about it, but you think that you don't see the correlation between the tints and the crime. You know, making sense. All right. Thank you all so very much. Yes. All right. And stay safe. Okay.
Stiffer penalties.
Huh?
Stiffer penalties.
Stiffer penalties
Yeah,
is
that's
what
what they want.
Stiffer
They're
penalties.
making it too easy. They're making it too easy for these people when they go up there. I'm not saying that everybody up there, you know. Some do get reformed, some change.
Yes.
And then sometimes when they come out, they go and back up in the same thing.
Come back
and
out
then
worse.
When they come out worse.
Understood.
Yes. Stiffer
Understood.
penalties.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. All the best. Okay. Bye bye. Thank you. Right. Hi, ladies. Hello. Can I ask you a question? The camera is not on you. Believe me, the lens is pointing at me. But what you had CXC today? I was wondering why why so many of you are on the street today. What subject you did? Come on, this way. English A. Oh, no plan. You mash it up. Easy. You did all the different sections. You completed.
Yes. We answer everything.
Oh, it doesn't matter for choice. So we get in a ones. Give me knock for ones. All right. So let me ask you something, right? You know there's a lot of crime in Barbados right now. You are aware, right? We know about Jonathan Chase last night, a 17-year-old cricketer. You heard about him? He was shot. I think they need blood for him. I hope he pulls through, right? Right now, the government though came up with this idea that to fight crime, one of the things they want to do is to remove the tints from the cars. Do you think that removing the tint will stop the murders?
No.
Why? What do you mean no?
That had taken long time and murders are still going on. So even when people ain't got the thing for their car, crime was still gone.
So you don't think so?
Yeah, because people walking about and doing it just like that. Yeah.
So you're saying it don't have nothing to do with the tint? Oh boy.
Because people just walking about and doing it and walking.
So what if you were to talk, because they're saying that people will have to pay $500, a lot of money. You know, if they're caught with the tint. Look at all these cars have tint. So I mean, what would you say? I know you're young people, but if you could say something to those in charge, what would you tell them? That they what?
Not foolish.
That they're foolish?
A man with nothing could walk past and shoot a man and go along.
Right.
Exactly. Like that time when the old man get robbed in broad daylight. That was broad daylight when a man walking on the road.
So that, and you're saying that didn't have anything to do with tint?
Some people just want things to block the sun.
To block the sun?
Yeah. For no other reason.
Just to block the sun. So do you think right now they're
expensive? So you want something good, go and get it, then go get tackle. Am making the same?
But some of the cars, you know, they come with the tint.
Exactly.
Right. Well, you know, I guess they're doing different things, you know. What do you suggest to stop the crime? What would you suggest?
Honestly, I don't know more police on the road.
You want more police on the road?
Like, gonna keep happening?
They can't stop the crime. It's not gonna. Yeah. Okay. Understood. Well, girls, all the best. Thanks. You have paper 2 yet?
We already paper 2.
Okay. And you have English B yet?
You do English B? Yeah. For a paper 2 correct? Yeah.
A paper 2. All the best. Stay focused and work hard, you know, so that after it finishes, you have a lots of fun and stay safe in the summer. Okay? Blessings. Yes. All right. Great chatting with you. Yes. Hello, ma'am. Hi, the camera is not on you, it's on me. I wanted to ask you about, you know, the level of murders and so on in Barbados, and the fact that the government has come up with this idea so that they remove the tints from the cars. Do you think that is going to stop the murders and the crime?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't think that it has nothing to do with tinting.
You don't think that the murders and crime have anything to do with the tinting? Wow, so you think that they're going down the wrong road?
Not really, but I still feel that should still remove the tint from cure.
Right, but you still don't think it has anything to do? You know that it's $500 fine if you...
I know.
You heard all about it?
Yes.
What do you think about where they say, well, tint must go, but not from certain people, so certain officials will keep their tint?
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, what do you feel about that?
I feel that we should remove the tint.
From everybody?
Yes.
From everybody, not just some?
Yes.
You still feel that it don't have anything to do with the crime? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Hello. Camera is not on you, it's on me. We're just asking about the tint and crime. Do you think that there's a relationship with the tint, removing the tint and reducing the crime?
Right, I really don't know, honestly.
You're not sure?
No, I'm not sure.
All right, okay, all right. So there you have it, guys. We have some mixed reviews. Hello, ma'am. You're smiling with me. Can I chat with you? You're going in? Can't come in? I wanted to talk to you about the tint. Do you think the tint is going to help with the crime that we're having? Why not? Because, I mean, we had up to last night, we had two murders. And, huh? You don't think so? No? Okay. All righty. Anybody else want to talk about the tint? You think tint is going to help with the crime? Yeah. Anybody want to talk to me? Tint is going to help with the crime?
Well, you know, Victor, I'm listening to these responses. You know, what is clear is that the majority of people interviewed, and I dare say, if you went across Barbados, if Marcia could go through every parish in this country, and even if she was stop on the highway and stop every vehicle on the highway, I am going to guarantee you that 98% of the people will not be able to see a correlation between crime and tint. I can guarantee you that. Because again, you know, I hear people say, you know, they should take off the tint and so on. And at the start of the program, I don't know if you heard when I began the program tonight, I come from the automotive industry, and I represented one of the leading luxury brands in the world. And the vehicles came with tinted glass all around, what we call green glass. If you put it next to a plain glass, you can see the distinct difference between the glass that is what we call green glass, which is actually a glass designed to reduce the amount of ultraviolet rays that enter the vehicle, to cut down the amount of toxicity produced by heating the plastic inside of the vehicle as a result of sunlight, and the ordinary glass on a vehicle. We even had vehicles that came with what we call double pane glasses, 2 panes of glasses, okay? And the back glasses came tinted. You couldn't remove it, okay? And as a result of that, you know, I couldn't understand the rationale. It makes me wonder if the Attorney General has done any research on the matter. I picked up this video, Victor. I picked up this video today. Somebody put it on my Facebook page for me. And I sent it to Dave, and I asked Dave, I said, Dave, please do me a favor. Run this video for me tonight. And let him run it, and then you can comment. And I don't know if Rose can hear us, because we're going to be going into our we're in our call-in segment at the moment for you in the loyal opposition, 2367000. And I don't know if Rose is hearing me, but we want to be able to have her back in as well, that she can contribute. She's in the green room, I believe. So Rose, if you're hearing me, just put on your camera, and I'll see the camera come on and bring in out of the green room. But Dave, play that for me so that Victor can see it and the loyal opposition can see it, so we can hear what they think about this video.
Tint. Then Alfonso here So, mister, I can't stop crying, so I can stop the Tint AG at it again. From September, the look at the charge more than $500 for having car Tint. $500 then? Is this the AG way of trying to get back that $240,000 in court damages they had to pay for not prosecuting cases on time? Or another way of getting back that $300 the government sent to people? And all the while the AG was in Parliament talking Tint. People was getting shot. People getting robbed. Even garbage men getting robbed now. And look at this, look.
Every Barbadian will be expected to comply with the legislation.
That is every Barbadian except for certain people. Because the way this unfair guerrilla front law right, only big high-ranking people can be able to use dark Tint. Once the pleb poor people can go drive around in hot sun. So you can got the sun killing you in addition to the bullets that the AG can't stop. And on top of that, the carjackers gonna now be able to see exactly who in the car so they can target the. Just like what happened to this one, man.
You gotta get your car on my own, or I'm gonna shoot you.
And you see these headlines? 21 murders so far for the year, and wait, that's the AG that say? Well, at least it's good to know he ain't letting this high murder rate keep it down. Anyways, to hear members of the public crying out.
And I would love the government to do something for these guys.
And instead of being importing the voices to help detect drugs and guns, we bring in the voices to detect foolish Tint. Make it make sense. This is beer Tint ignorance with a capital E.
we can laugh at this, Victor. I mean, I didn't know. First of all, I didn't know ignorance was spelled with a capital E. That's the first thing I didn't know. But listen, seriously, I wonder. I have been asking myself this question for a long time, and don't forget, folk, this is your call-in segment, 236-7000. We want to hear from you. This is the opportunity you get. And as long as you call, as soon as Marcia indicates to me, Dave indicates to me they have a call, myself and Victor will entertain your call. But you know, Victor, what I keep asking in my mind is, does the government engage people before it establishes policy? Or do they just sit down in a room and come up with ideas and don't know what in the name of God they're doing? And just take something to Parliament as an attempt to show that they're trying to do something.
I see this post here by Carol Lewis. Yes, there is a Tint policy in Trinidad and Tobago. Yet 600 murders last year. Tint does not
affect
crime. You know. You see, I am seeing this whole Tint policy, you know, there was a question there, a comment made also about St. Gabriel's School. I want for us to get back to that because I think that is very noteworthy. You know?
And not crossing you, another one was made a little earlier too about the fact that a lot of the guys that you're seeing now dying with, you know, the heroes you described actually went to school well-groomed. Well-groomed. Now, I don't know. That was the comment that was made. I don't know the persons who, you know, have been affected where this criminal activity is concerned, what they were like when they were at school. But the comment was made, and I was just trying to locate it. But that was also made. So, you know, the two of those together. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I want for us to comment on that St. Gabriel's one, you know. But yeah, that's the comment there. Do we have these issues in the schools at St. Gabriel's? If not, why? You know, that is a very interesting observation, you know. And I would really love for Mike on the Move, you know, not having visited the school there, died in Griffith, and maybe the other schools, you know, and get some comments. We need to look at other sides of the coin. You know, we know what's happening at Freddie Smith. We know what happened at Princess Margaret. You know, I want to hear what's happening at St. Gabriel's School
and St. Winifred's.
And St. Winifred, you know,
and People's Cathedral, and the Seventh Adventist School out there at Beckles Road, you know, going across by the Savannah.
Yes. I would want to for us not to necessarily interview management, but to see these individuals on the streets and let us capture, what are we seeing when we compare the optics that we see going in and out of our known high schools, those in the deeper public sector, and compare them to the private institutions. Are we being led in the wrong direction? And that's very much rhetorical, but of course we are being led in the wrong direction, because what's happening now with our society, I mean, it is very disgraceful. I mean, I don't know.
I wonder too, Victor, when people come up with these policy decisions, do they understand the implications and the communication that is being sent to our younger generation? When you just come up with a policy. There's a comment, for example, here. Natasha Hope makes this comment. She says, so did these brainstormers think about the exposure to the toxins released by the plastic in the cars after being exposed to the sun without the tint? Natasha, you're absolutely correct. And this is why I raise the point. Government continues to come up with policy. They come up with youth policy, but they have no dialogue with the young people. They come up with agriculture policy, but they don't have no dialogue with the people who are working in the fields. They come up with policy to do with education. They don't sit down and talk with the teachers, the parents. They have no dialogue. I am talking about substantive dialogue. I'm not talking about facilitating a photo op where you go into a meeting and you get up and say what you have to say, but you can't entertain hard telling questions and input from other people who don't agree with you. Victor, when I started the session tonight, because obviously this matter of the tint, and while I don't think people understand that the two are not that devoid of connection, where we talk about the matter of schools and so forth, and the matter of the tints and these types of things, they're not that devoid, because you heard the Attorney General make this statement. Every Barbadian is expected to comply with the law. Whatever happened to we are in this together? You would remember that, Victor. If we're in this together, is the Prime Minister going to comply with the law? Is the Attorney General going to comply with the law? Is the Commissioner of Police going to comply with the law? Because we're supposed to be in this together.
They don't have to take their vehicles to the pine for inspection. Their vehicles are not going to go over 10 years. Their vehicles are not going to be subjected to going to a garage for a roadworthy certificate. So that is a tool being used to get back the $300 plus more. That
So
along with the tint.
you're saying it is a tax then?
Of course.
Because when you look at a person now, because you see again, the Attorney General doesn't understand this. If everybody in this country or anybody in this country who has tint on their glasses have to remove it, they have to take it to somebody who knows what they're doing, Victor, and that costs. And we don't even know what the cost of that is. I'm serious, I mean, because you will see sometimes, the people put on the tint and it begins to peel. And if you hold that tint and just peel it off, there's a whole residue left on the glass. And more often than not, the majority of Barbadians don't know how to get that residue off that glass. Sometimes people employ WD-40, but it doesn't always work, because not all tints are equal, if you follow what I'm saying. And so it's not just a $500 fine, because then they're going to have to make an appointment to have that removed. So, it's just ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous.
You see, Dr. Ferdinand, there is um there is this technology now that most likely will be in Barbados, facial recognition technology.
It's here already. It's here already. A number of the cameras that you see on the highway, particularly the big ones, those big cameras, not the little ones, the big ones.
Yeah, the big ones.
They're facial recognition cameras.
Right. And though that facial recognition technology could only be effective if the tint is of a certain percentage. Now, if the law is being mobilized because of that, ensuring that the technology can benefit the people of Barbados because of the law being enforced that 20% or under for tint is accepted because the camera, the technology can operate with that level of percentage. One can understand that. But I took my vehicle, Hilux, right? To MTW to do a wait. And all the guy had to do was to look and see that my chassis number and engine number is as stated. Stamp and give me it. But no, he tell me he will not be inspecting, he will not be weighing my vehicle unless I get the tint of my vehicle removed. He didn't come up with a piece of equipment.
Yeah, we have a call. We have a call coming in.
Yeah.
So remember your last point there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening. Welcome to March 2 Week Show. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, I got that, Miss Ferguson. This is John Wharton.
Good evening, John. Sorry, who is it?
Yeah, my concern is that right, you know that I don't like the government policies. I don't really support the government, but I realize that when I speak out against the government or people in the government, they're victimizing me. Right? They try to assassinate me already for speaking out. You understand?
But what is your take on this matter to do with the correlation? Because it seems that what is being perceived is that there's a correlation between the tint and crime. What is your perspective on that?
My perspective is that the tint can't start no crime. You understand? It just is a bunch of foolishness. It's like you got 28 ministers that with no brain. Yeah, honestly, not that trying to really make the boy look small or anything, but you understand what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So you don't see any correlation. You don't see that the matter of the tint is going to really impact crime. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you calling with that contribution. Thank you so much, Sean. Again, you see, Victor, another person that just doesn't see the correlation aspect of the matter, because you were beginning to make the point that of the cameras and so on, the percentage. I think if it was communicated in a manner, do we have another call there, Marcia? Dave, is that another call or the same one? Okay, great. If the communication was to reduce the darkness of the tint, if the focus, the highlight was the reduction in the darkness, so as to facilitate whatever you want to facilitate, I don't think people would be as upset and angered at it as much as the attempt to correlate the tint to crime.
Precisely.
I think this is where the Attorney General has lost his argument and perspective.
Well, what's the objective?
Correct.
The objective here is not to produce a level of tint that the facial recognition technology can be effective. I don't know if that's the objective, because what I'm seeing is that the focus is on the $500. So if this gentleman at NTW had come up with a piece of equipment and put it on my glass to show me that I am 28, 30, 40% as far as the tint level is concerned. So, Mr. Lewis, this should be reading 20% or under, whatever technology they're going to use. All right. But the guy says I must remove my tint.
But the question I have for you, though, Victor, is does he have the authority weighing your vehicle? Does the person who weighs your vehicle have the authority to require you to remove your tint, or is his job to weigh the vehicle?
His job is to weigh the vehicle.
But then he doesn't
And then
have the
to show,
authority.
but
But that's
I
how
love,
Bajans are. That's how Bajans are.
I love to be able to come home, take up my fishing line, go on the beach, sit down, relax, go up in the forest, walk about and enjoy myself. You with me? So sometimes, sometimes you identify with that and you just move on, right? But I think it was so unfortunate because I took my vehicle now to the insurance for a roadworthy certificate. The guy who inspected the vehicle never asked me about any tint.
Well, we have another call coming in, Victor. So remember your last word. Good evening and welcome
yes,
to the Marcia Week show. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm actually speechless. Why? Because it appears that the BLP really lack persons who are not just skillful in writing legislative drafting, but people who really understand the heart of the people. Because I don't think that a government would go out of its way to inconvenience the masses. And if that is not the case, it will show that again you are not doing enough research. Because everywhere around the world, or I should say in developed countries, you see tint, and I don't see an issue with the tint. I heard what's the gentleman's name in the chat in the studio again? What's his name again?
Sorry, you mean here, Victor? Victor, yes.
What's the gentleman's name in the studio again? Was it the gentleman in the studio? What's his name again?
Victor.
Victor.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I totally agree with him. It seems that the issue really is about the money, according to a certain member that was out some kind of money. The issue cannot really be about the comfort of Bajans, because the truth is, the majority of people that have tint aren't necessarily criminals. You have to when you are doing legislative drafting, you actually have to speak to the rationale behind doing certain things. Now, you don't just create laws with nefarious agendas. Now, effort is really to combat or deter the criminal element or criminal activity. I would think if it were doing such a thing, that in good conscience, it would have to be the severity of the tint to make it legible that a police officer or persons can be seen. But as you can tell me, no, it is speaking of the correction. Are you telling me that it is to remove all the tint so that everybody will be driving in just plain glass?
I think, caller, that they are talking about reducing it to the 20% level. But what is I think creating the issue is the attempt to correlate the matter of the tint to crime. I don't think people are that much against the reduction or the lightening of the tint. Let me put it that way, as it relates to the glasses. But it is that people just don't see the connection between tint and crime. They just can't see it. That's the problem right there.
Barbados needs to get real, because the situation is that Barbados for all these years were relying on the natural eye to detect guns. Why is it that the Prime Minister travels all over the world? She knows that in first world countries, we're here in Canada. I'm in Canada, and in Canada, you have a situation where in scanners you can put a container, and you can see everything in that container. You can know everything that is in that container. It's not. You don't have to rely on the human eye all the time. I think that Barbados is just Barbados is not being real, and the politicians are not being real. The money that is spent on jumping up with regathering, half of it, a quarter of it, could be used in acquiring state-of-the-art
equipment
and placed at all ports of entry.
Yes. Absolutely. Agree with you and absolutely call it. And appreciate you calling from Canada because it's good to hear it from a first world perspective because, I realize that, up there, you also have situations, with the criminal activity that don't want folk to see them in the vehicles and so on. So you guys would be on top of that up there. So I really appreciate you calling in from Canada. And speaking to it and speaking to that, I'm almost sorry because I started to smile. I started to smile when you started to talk because you said something about you don't have you can't speak or you don't have words, and I was about to say, well, you're talking, but nevertheless, it's a pity that you're not here because this coming Saturday we have a protest march on the 14th. This coming Saturday, 10 o'clock. You can fly in for it, and just fly back out. But we have this marching for real security and not political theater. And this is going from Kensington Oval. You would know these locations to Independence Square.
I think I remember.
You remember where Kensington Oval is? So, listen, thank you so much for calling.
I should say for mem. I think it's for member, not remember for member. I think it's for member, yeah.
Thank you. But we appreciate you calling in from Canada. Imagine that you're one of our diaspora people, and obviously you will see things from a different point of view. And we appreciate you calling from a first world country. And I mean, we are considered a first world country.
A country that has scanners that a plethora of guns don't just come in containers and it not be seen by the naked eye. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you calling. My goodness. Thank you. Thank you. All the best to you.
All the best. Yes.
Wow, Victor, we have people concerned even in the diaspora.
Dr. Ferdinand, I started off by telling you that crime is a business.
you did.
I started off by telling you that. Mr. Ferdinand, don't drop to sleep. Remember that, I told you that crime is a business.
I can't drop to sleep because Marcy's not going to let me drop to sleep because she got this big flyer up in front of us here to remind us of this march. Okay, folks, remember this march. We want you to be present in this march on Saturday coming June the 14th, 10 o'clock from Kensington over to Independence Square. If you're concerned about the crime in this country, if you're concerned about the nonsense you're hearing with relation to crime and tint, we are asking you to join us. If you're concerned about the 21 murders in 22 weeks and 76-year-old woman being raped and daylight robberies, join us on Saturday, the 14th of June, this coming Saturday, 10 o'clock, Kensington Mall to Independence Square. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the Marcy Week Show. Please go right ahead and make a contribution.
Good night, Brother Ferdinand and company. First of all, I give God thanks for hearing Marcy Week's voice sounding strong and sounding good. Praise be to the Heavenly Father for that. And I fully agree with that caller from Canada. We have a very bad issue of crime, and not only crime, the way how people behave, how we act to each other. And, I watched the video clip that you all have there with Marcia interviewing these people. I believe it's from another country.
Yes, that was from Dominica. Yes, it was from Dominica. Pardon? It was from Dominica.
Yeah. Right, good. But yet you have people partying, the police partying, along with the Attorney General, once we have 21 murders, once we have an elderly lady, and that has me so angry.
Yes.
Elderly lady being raped, whilst her grandson had to be tied up and had to watch.
And watch.
Yes, he was made to watch. And this person, when he's held, what do you think? He's going to hire a big gabby shot lawyer or be afforded legal aid, and then he's going to go up on remand, and then after a specific time, he's going to get out. All these things need to be put a stop. So I humbly agree that this march is so important. This march is so important. I want people of Barbados to hear what I am saying. This march is not only a march because we could march, And because we got breath in our lungs and we have the strength in our bodies, this mark is for the values, the hardcore values that we have seen to have lost to save our young people, the ones that want to be saved, you know, from this tyrannical administration that cares, seem not to care despite the fact they care. So, you know, it really affects me. It comes home to me when I see young people, you can't talk to them on the bus. You tell them to behave themselves, the right to tell you part your money and put you to play in the Belgian there. You know, and this is something that all of us, you Ferdinand, the gentleman, I can see, I can't remember his name, but I love to hear him talk.
Name is Victor Lewis.
You know, yes, thank you. You know, I mean, it's crazy. And then to hear the hurt coming from Marcia, that really brings tears to my eyes. To hear how Marcia thought last night. I know that woman hurt me. Because Marcia loves people. She loves old folk, just like me. You know what I mean? And I hope to God that we will have almost half of Barbados turn up to this March Saturday. It is of the utmost importance. And I hope the Belgian public, it don't matter what side divide you are on, if you're BD or X, you need to turn out. It's not about party, it is about the souls of our young men and women. And above all, mental health. So for tonight, I want you all to keep up the good work, keep strong, remain focused, and don't be deterred.
Thank you so very much.
This tyrannical government will be made to pay. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. And before you run off, share the flyer and share the information on your Facebook page, social media. I don't know all of them, X, and I don't know if there's a Y or a Z, but there's a X. I know there's a Twitter and all these different social media. Let's get it out there, because
I've already done that for the
thank you so very much.
I've already done that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And folk, you can share the videos and all that we have. You can take out the clips.
Have a blessed evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your call. Yes, Victor. Again, you see people addressing the whole aspect of preventing it at the source. I mean, we don't make guns here. We don't make weapons here. How are they getting in? How are they getting in, Victor? You said it's a business. It's a business. And as you know, Victor, there's no business in Barbados that doesn't have somebody on the ground here that imports and markets. So do we not know by now who the importers are? Do we not by now have the equipment to scan the containers at the port and at Port St. Charles and Port Ferdinand and at the airport? I mean, I know that some of these people have become very sophisticated with what they call it again, Victor, this technology where you can create the guns and all of that and make it out of non-metallic materials and all these kind of things. We know, but certainly the technology to locate them is available because it happens in the US, it happens in Canada, it happens in Europe, and if the prime ministers all over the world, she should be meeting people who have the technology to deal with this.
3D printing.
3D printing, that's correct, sir. That is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, people overseas have the technology to deal with that too. So why is she flying all over the world and we're not seeing results here in Barbados that will carry our crime down?
But how could they do that? How could they do that, Dr. Ferdinand? If I have a reduction of crime, if I don't allow guns to come in the country, we will have a significant reduction in crime and my business is going to go down. I'm not going to be able to employ my lawyers to prosecute and defend. So that environment is profitable for us because at the head is a lawyer and the AG a lawyer, And as I said before, and I reiterate again, not all lawyers are bad. But what have we seen of recent? There was a guy about 3 callers back, and he made this comment, and I am certain you heard him. He said that if he speaks out,
Yes, yeah.
If
We
he
have
speaks
another
out,
caller. My goodness. If he
yeah.
speaks out, yes. We have another caller, Victor. So hold your point there. Huh? If he
Mhm.
speaks out, remember that place where you are. Yes, good evening and welcome to the Marcy Week Show.
Good night, Dr. Ferdy. Good night, Victor. How are
Good night.
y'all doing?
Yeah, I'm
We're
fine.
we're doing fine, thank you. Good night to you and welcome again.
I'm going to start the question. Do pickpockets drive?
Do pickpockets drive?
Yeah, do pickpockets drive?
I think they would drive to where they would want to pick pockets, but I don't think they would be picking pockets while they're driving.
Pickpockets steal, but they walk.
Yes,
They
yes,
walk.
yes, they do.
No tint.
How many drive-by shootings have
Hmm.
we had?
Quite a few.
But according to the figures, I have seen the old gentleman who was attacked on Belmont. The guy who attacked him was walking. The old gentleman who was attacked when he left playing dominoes, the guys who attacked him were walking, but they drove off in his vehicle. The majority of the crime is being carried out from cars. And then there are the bike ones, as in motorbikes and bicycles. They only want the $500. That's what it's about. They
Okay, so
want the money.
you feel that the whole
They
matter of the
want
tint
the
is
money.
about raising
Man
money for the
can't be
government.
sold.
You feel that the whole matter of the tint is raining revenue for the government, then it's not really to address crime.
No,
Okay.
no,
Thank you so
not
very
at
much.
all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Look, my breadfruit swappers that always teaching me breadfruit, they don't walk with a stick or they climb over my face. Now they don't drive, and some of them are children that go in school. You understand
Thank
me?
you. Yes, yes, got you. Read you loud and clear. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
God
Stay
bless. Have a great
safe.
night. Great, great
Breadfruit
night. Thank
swappers.
you. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah. Rose, I don't know if you can hear me. I've been waiting for Rose to turn on her camera before I bring her in, but I'm not seeing a response from her as yet. I don't know if Dave you can reach out to her for me and see if she's in the green room because we would love to have her in with us at this time. But Vicky, you were making the point a moment ago.
I'm concerned that, when people speak out, how they are being victimized.
Mhm.
Where's the democracy in our country? Where's the
But
freedom
we
of
are,
speech?
but we are democratic. But we are a democratic country. I mean, during the
Yeah.
by-elections, everybody on the government side threw cold water on the fact that we're a democratic country, and they were saying
Mhm.
how even the by-election shows that we're democratic. I
Mhm.
mean, we're a democratic country, Victor.
But
Nobody is
uh,
victimized in Barbados. Everybody is free to say whatever they
but
want.
this gentleman, and I feel that this gentleman has a few years behind him. Well, and
I'm
he's
being
saying
very
that,
sarcastic, huh?
huh?
I hope
Yeah,
you realize
I
I'm being
appreciate
very
it. Appreciate
sarcastic.
it. Yes, appreciate it. And I'm very concerned. That some person who, well respected in this country has done, they pay their dues in terms of the development of our country, can be seen in 2025 that when I
Mhm,
speak my mind, I am victimized. You know,
mhm, mhm.
it is so unfortunate that we have reached this stage in our country. I heard from um, I would have listened to Obama on several occasions relative to the leading up to elections in the United States, and Obama always said to the people, you must vote. vote. You know, you will take a stance on issues. People will seek to victimize you. But you have that opportunity to go into that cubicle and vote. You know,
Yes, yes.
and I really have a difficulty. I really have a difficulty with people who don't utilize that opportunity. And you see that $300? That was wicked. The intent there was not about what kind of fund they call it again?
Solidarity fund.
Solidarity with what? Solidarity with who? You know,
But again, you
that
see,
that was solely intended to sway the elections in the direction of the Barbados Labour Party. That was wicked, in my opinion. But my concern, Dr. Ferdinand, my concern, and a major one, is the percentage of people who came out in St. James North and voted. Um, the actual number of people eligible to vote and the percentage that we got turning out to vote. We can't have that level of percentage of people in Barbados sitting down, not utilizing their vote to determine the direction of this country. So at the next general election, I want to know if we're going to have a similar reflection where people will be so concerned about all the crime and all the issues going on in our country, but will stay home and don't vote. That's what Obama said. You must vote. That's what we must do. Get all the constituents out to vote. Don't be just home quarreling. Don't be hearing the Master Vic show quarreling or expressing your concerns as the case may be, but come out and vote. That is what
absolutely.
we must do. Get the people out to vote.
And we want to get you to come and march as well. You know, you can join us. I'm going to ask them to put that flyer up while we are chatting. And Rose, it's good to have you back. It's good to have you out of the green room into the right room. This is the yellow room. Thank you so much for putting up that flyer, Dave. This Saturday coming. You know, Rose, I remember the last time you were on a march with us that really had a substantive impact. You remember traveling with that? What was it? You had a pan cover or something like that. If you're speaking, you're going to have to unmute because I can't unmute you. I can encourage you to unmute. Okay, great. You remember that? You remember that steel pan you had? I don't know if you got the steel
Yes, pardon me. I
you
do remember, and that was at a point of celebration
Yes, yes,
when the cybercrime bill was pulled back
yes, yes.
after our various protests and discussions on this very platform and several marches before then through the city educating on the cybercrime bill. I remember very well, and it was a point of celebration.
Hmm.
I'm finding, however, more and more of the marches have this, more of the marches have become quite solemn, the recent marches. Even when we marched that Saturday
Yes, for that
with
young
the
man.
African Bank, um, the leader of the opposition who attended spent his segment speaking about violence and the loss of life. I think of the young man who was fatally stabbed in Whole Town. And that now has become the kind of norm. Our marches now are, yes, they are in protest of what's happening nationally, but they're so solemn because as we march, we're marching about safety, we're marching against violence, we're marching against loss of lives, robbery, and now I think what mobilizes us for this one, or what is mobilizing us for this one, is that act against that senior citizen. But
Yes.
remember, this lady has not been the only one. Remember, in the city, I think on Kensington New Road, a similar act was carried out against another senior woman.
Mhm, mhm.
And so the shifts that we're having, they're too often. And again, from the platform in the last by-election, they talked about this platform, this that we're using now, and they talked about the marches. So they're not even recognizing that what we're doing is an act on the part of civil society to mobilize civil society to speak out, on what is happening or not happening, to ensure our safety and security and livelihood and as citizens and our existence as citizens. I would think that from what they are hearing from voices like ours, that they would take a few steps back and say, look, these people are not coming to Ideas Forum or talk shop right now or meet with the Prime Minister. I can't remember all the names that they had. The latest one is Ideas Forum. And they're not coming, but they are raising some key issues. Let's listen and not necessarily give credit to them, but act on what they are bringing to the table. Act on their suggestions. Act on for example, Marcia out on the streets. Did you hear the children?
Yes, yes. I took
Did you
note of
hear
that.
the children?
Yes, I took note of that. The young people speaking.
And
Yes.
the students spoke more with more awareness, and they articulated the reasoning as if they were writing an argumentative essay.
Yes.
You know, I would love to have those students in one of my classes and just work with them, and you would see what excellent argumentative essay that they can bring to the discussion
Well,
and
I
debate.
mentioned
But they're not listening.
Rose. Rose,
Yes, please.
I want to put this one to you. Do you think that any of those students, just like the gentleman I called earlier, had a fear of victimization?
Beg your
Well,
pardon?
no, he
Did
was
you?
asking if you felt that any of the students that we heard in terms of the mic on the move had any fear of victimization.
The mic on the move?
Yeah, that's what we were listening to. The mic on the move was what we
Yes,
were listening to because Marcia did not show the people's faces because, of
yes.
course,
The
people
children.
wanted to maintain their privacy because of that very
And
sensitive
that's
fear.
concerning. That's concerning that you know how many people meet to me, and not only government workers, but people in private sector, and they meet me, they squeeze my hand, they whisper that they're listening to the show. And you know, as they talk to, they look around to see who's hearing. There is, I've never, I have never felt what we are feeling now and experiencing before. You know, you knew that there was victimization. You would hear about it. You would know that some people were denied promotion. But it was not. It has not been as obvious as now. So you don't, and then this can grow into apathy, you know, where people,
Yes.
and Victor talked about it, where people don't want to I think people even got fear that if they vote now, it could be found out who they voted
Who they voted
for.
for.
There
But you
is
know,
there is a kind of mistrust
yes.
that is prevailing and that has pervaded, and
Okay.
that is, but maybe too. You look at the comparison with the laughed about the poor show at the DLP meetings. But we have to ask why. We have to ask why. And it may be again that persons are afraid. Because if you look at and don't tell me that they're not, it is human nature to feel that emotion. Fear is one of the strongest emotions. And at times, Pastor Ferdy and Victor, you all could correct me, at times even stronger, than it can consume you more than that emotion called love.
Yes. Yes.
And
Well,
if you know that being by therefore, if you look at and I've looked at them because I want balance, and I've been extrapolating and pulling out excerpts and segments. That is why I said I heard the Prime Minister pontificating, pointing out in this case the things that they're doing to arrest crime and violence. And as I said, how many police, the upgrading of the police force, the upgrading of the judicial system. And it is more in numerical terms. And it is not giving assurances that, look, we have those gunmen, we have the few that are influencing and driving. They may not have a face, the public may not be able to point and say, there he goes like that, but we know them. And a strike of fear, that same fear, and that few, we're not seeing that, we're not hearing that. And when I looked at the DLP meeting, they were not ashamed. Their supporters are not ashamed
Well,
to
you know,
be
one of the
seen,
things,
for the cameras to be put on them. They are not ashamed, young and old, because in some way they feel secured
emboldened.
within and emboldened
Yeah. Yeah.
and brazen and all of that by
Yes.
their association with the BLP. And hence the yes, I could empathize, I could appreciate Victor and Pastor Ferdy, persons not wanting to go on camera.
Right, right.
Even their households are so split these days. I know of a household where it is obvious, and it is the youth, the young people in the house who would be very vocal with their loyalties to this ruling party, and in a sense intimidate those who are not. There is
Yep. Well, no, I follow what you're saying, because there is an aggression. Let me put it that way. There is an aggression among their followers, but we equally have to get aggressive. And in getting aggressive, to be honest with you, Victor Rose, it means that people have to get up and get out. And this coming Saturday, we need people to come. When I say we need, I'm not talking about the Marcy Week show. People think we're talking about the Marcy Week show. We're talking about this country. We're talking about the citizenry of this country. It is not the Marcy Week show that's going to have to pay $500 for Tint. It is the people of the country that are going to have to do that. And so we are calling on the people of this country, the same way you got together, the private sector and all the unions and all the people involved in NGOs and whatnot, the same way you got together with the current prime minister and marched when the last government was in office, and they opposed the matter. They spoke out against the matter of crime and violence. Here we are, 7 years later, addressing the same matter. And I'm calling on the private sector, on the citizens of this country. I'm calling on the church. I'm calling on every citizenry. I don't care who you are, what you represent, to join us this coming Saturday, June the 14th, 10 o'clock at Kensington Mall, to voice and to show your disagreement with the manner in which our country is being managed as it relates to this matter of crime and violence. And Rose and Victor, can I remind you both that this elderly lady, because I read I couldn't even read the entire article that was carried in the media concerning her rape, but she made the point, I believe, that there are others, especially younger ones, who suffer in this manner but are afraid to speak out for whatever reason. And so we are going to speak for them. And we're asking you, all these daylight robberies, imagine 21 murders in 21 weeks. So we're calling on our leaders for some real answers. Where are the guns coming from? What is the actual plan to address the importation of weapons? Is the Tint all we've got? That is the question we're asking. So we're demanding no political interference for the police, stronger laws on gun crime and real enforcement. And the reality is that people just don't feel safe anymore. And if you don't feel safe, if you are unsure, even in pulling out of a gas station, of being held up, then join us on Saturday coming. Join June the 14th, 10 o'clock at Kensington Mall. All right. And one last thing before we have to go, Victor and Rose. I made a note here. All the government has to do is to prohibit the importation of tint darker than 20%. That's all they have to do. If all that's available in the country is 20%, that's what you would put on. You can't put on anything else because it's not available. But if they allow darker tint in, then you're going to have a problem. And I am not even going to take the time at this point to address anything to do with the other factors regarding the tint. Okay, and so we want to encourage you to join us this Saturday. Please remember to bring a donation, because this march is not funded by a right-wing group in the United States. This is funded out of Dave and Marcia's pockets. They are having to put forward the funding here or arrange with persons to provide, in the hope that we will contribute. And the loyal opposition, we are asking you to travel with a donation that we can help to offset the cost of this march, and don't allow Dave and Marcia to have to carry this load alone. Don't let them do that. And so we're asking you, and we're also asking you to dress in national colors. Now, I think the national colors, Victor, is blue and yellow. Is that the national colors?
Gold.
Gold, blue and gold is certainly in red. National color is not red, or it's blue and gold. And so we want to encourage you to join us, please. You know, Victor, you said you and Rose, you all saw Marcia. I'll tell you this. I have never seen Marcia so angry as I saw Marcia last night. I've never seen her so passionate. I have never seen her so aggressive in my entire experience with Marcia here on the show. When I watched Marcia last night, if I was in the Attorney General's position, I would take a flight and leave the country, because I felt that if she could lay her hands on him at that point, he would get a song licking. But I saw a passion and an anger and a dissatisfaction in her last night, and I am hoping that that carries over to all of us, not only in the loyal opposition, but you members of the loyal opposition. Share the video, give us a thumbs up. We had over close to 800 and something people tonight. Thumb up, put it on your Facebook page. Let people see what is going on and let them join us this coming Saturday at Kensington Mall, going from Kensington Mall up to Independence Square, Saturday, 10 o'clock. Join us for our protest march. We are not satisfied. We just don't feel safe. Victor, thank you for being here tonight. Rose, thank you for being here and staying on with us through the show. We appreciate all that you have contributed. And Victor, as you know, I mean, you're speaking from a position of experience. You're a former law enforcement officer. And maybe if they would sit down and have greater dialogue with persons such as yourself, they would come to a better solution in terms of criminal activity. We want to thank the loyal opposition for being here with us tonight. I know Dave is going to have something to close off with. He always does. And we want to particularly, again, thank you, Dave, and Marcia for helping us with the calls and with all the technological stuff that I know nothing about. Thank you so very much. And, you know, I always smile, Victor, when I look at you in my screen, and I say to myself, I wish I could relax like Victor.
I want Dave to play that video that you played earlier. You know, I want to go on that so I can go to sleep after.
I know you got a song, you know.
Dave, play that video again. Video. Let's go on that one, you know.
No, not that one, Dave. The one with the other one before you do this one. And Rose, thank you so much for what you contributed.
You gotta go and sleep with a laugh, man.
Yeah, Rose, it's been solemn. The marches have been solemn because we've had to face so much death and so much criminality. It's been difficult to rejoice. All right, so Dave, give us that video, and then you can end with your song. But Victor wants it to go. I don't know how many other people in the loyal opposition want to go that one as well. But let's just do that one.
Tint.
Tint. There's Alfonso here. So, mister, I can't stop crying, so I can stop the Tint. The AG at it again. From September, the look at the charge more than raised $500 for having car Tint. $500 then. Is this the AG way of trying to get back that $240,000 in court damages they had to pay for not prosecuting cases all time? Or another way of getting back that $300 that the government sent to people? And all the while the AG was in Parliament talking to people was getting shot, people getting robbed, even garbage men getting robbed now. And look at this, look.
Every Barbadian will be expected to comply with the legislation.
That is every Barbadian except for certain people. Because the way this unfair guerrilla law right, only big high-ranking people gonna be able to use dark tint, which the pleb poor people gonna go dry in hot sun. So you got the sun killing you, in addition to the bullets that the AG can't stop. And on top of that, the carjackers gonna now be able to see exactly who in the car, so they can target the... Just like what happened to this one, man.
You're gonna get your car on my own, or you're gonna let me shoot you?
And you see these headlines? 21 murders so far for the year, and... Wait, does the AG that say? Well, at least it's good to know he ain't letting this high murder rate keep it down. Anyways, to hear members of the public crying out,
And I would love the government to do something for these guys.
And instead of we importing the voices to help detect drugs and guns, we bring in the voices to detect foolish think. Make it make sense? This is beer think ignorance with a capital E.
Good night, everyone. God bless you. Thank you, Rose. Thank you,
Stop the infiltration, stop the importation. Find the source. Who's the source? What the source that bringing guns in the land? Rob the source. Stop the source. What they want is gun eradication. You could be an aristocrat, you could be a millionaire. Family or pedigree, you're not getting spared. The source could be a businessman, renting out the guns. Aim is a solution to stop the gun pollution. Find the source. Who's the source? What the source that bringing guns in the land? Rob the source. Stop the source. What we want is gun eradication. Find them. Find them. Rob the source. Stop the source. What we want is gun eradication. The source could be CRA, customs could be involved. The bottom line is to find the cause, get the gun violence solved. The source could be the listeners who don't want us to say our thing. Every day they keep on telling you, if you see something, say something. Find the source. Who's the source? What is source that bringing guns in the land? Rob the source. Stop the source. What we want is gun eradication. Stop the violence in this land. Shooting gonna make you a man. You're bringing your parents down to their knees. Try to respect the elderly. The source could be the average man with a rusty Smith and Wesson. Run around every day, lately to he cousin. It could be illiteracy, no common sense in your head. Instead of finding solution, kill it, eat bread a day. Who's the source? What is source that bringing guns in the land? Rob the source. Stop the source. What we want is gun eradication. Stop the infiltration. Stop the importation. What we want is gun eradication. We got to find them. Find them. Find them. Find them. Find
Well, good night. God bless you. Good night, Vic.
Good
Good
night.
night, loyal opposition. Bye-bye.
All the best, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Good night.